How you doing, fellas? Shibbida bip dee dee. We got some bodies rolling in. Let's do this a little slow in the beginning. Before we get to the Shameless Sperg, Joel Webben released a 10-part series with Nick Fuentes. It's only $10 to get them all now. Otherwise, you got to wait until mid-March to get them all. So I started watching some of them. Got some cool ideas in the works. Episode 2 is Catholic versus Protestant. And I haven't said this to anyone yet, but I'm kind of thinking, I've had the other Paul on the stream, who's an Anglican. Fist is an ortho bro. I'm an atheist. And that might be fun for us to watch a Catholic versus Protestant conversation between Joel Webben and Nick Fuentes. Joel Webben predicts a gay pope, and he's an interesting guy. Very interesting conversations. It's similar to the Shameless Sperg. Interesting opinions. So that's an idea. Possibly. I'm trying to think of what to do with these, because there's a lot of substance. I'll probably end up doing a solo stream on Nick Fuentes, episode 3. Nick Fuentes is right and wrong about masculinity. That one covers some good ground. Addressing how Nick Fuentes, is in a relationship. He's pro-white, not making more whites. But his history, the last 10 years, has made it very difficult to bring in a family into the world, as we will see with Shameless Sperg of what can happen when you have a wife and kid as you enter these very dangerous waters. Now, the interesting thing, this might be an Artie and Fist episode with this one, episode 4, Conservative Grifters. This one strays and covers some ground, but it does reveal that these episodes were probably recorded in like September of 2025.
Friendly with it.
I got a feeling you'll go on Tucker's show eventually.
I think
so.
That might happen, but friendly with it.
I got a feeling you'll go on.
So that's before he talked to Tucker Carlson. So those are going well. I'm deciding what I'm going to do with them. It gives me a little bit of a, prediction of what I can do with these episodes that are coming out. Very quality, highly recommend. It's $1 an episode before they come out. And Joel Webben is on a crusade, okay? Oh, that guy's on a crusade. He said something like, if a pit bull owner's pit bull kills someone, you should kill the pit bull and the owner, okay? This guy is hard line. He is further to the right than Nick Fuentes. But I love it, There's nothing to be afraid of on the right wing, and that's why it's so fun to explore. Speaking of which, the Shameless Sperg, okay? How do I explain this? Let's go to here. Actually, let's start here. Now, I made a video called White Racial Consciousness is Good on June 2nd of 2025, covering the Shameless Sperg. And I was like, wow, this guy's channel is growing quickly. I'll show you. So, fellas, if you look at my videos from the past month, I've been crawling further and further right wing. As fate would have it, I found a YouTube channel that's pretty new. Now, in less than a month, he got 13,000 subscribers, almost 400,000 views. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, YouTube is allowing some frothy right-wing rhetoric. And Shameless Sperg has a way of getting to my emotions when he talks about white collectivism. He has a way about him. He's a little libby and pagany And so he does it in this very like honest, really sharing his emotions kind of way. He strikes a chord with me. I don't expect him to like me, okay? But you don't have to like me for me to like you and appreciate what you're doing. Don't care. So he was a huge motivator for me to start really advocating for white collectivism. Did I think he was being not covert enough? Yeah, definitely. But I mean, within 4 months, he had 57,000 subscribers. And he started using the J word a lot. And he was saying unfavorable things about the Jays. Okay. Oh, this is hilarious. This is from the Rumble chat. Well, bullets are just tiny rocks. Yeah. Joe Webbin did say that. In terms of stoning a certain sexually oriented populace, it'll be funny. Joe Webbin will be talking for like 20 minutes, and then he'll have this like crazy one-liner. Don't sleep on Joe Webbin. But on December 24th, I released a video saying that proving racism doesn't exist. I could feel it in my bones that we have to get rid of the word racism on the right, okay? Now, I've made my right-wing arc pretty new to the game, okay? I catch criticism for that, understandably so. I'm the new guy, right? I do put my channel at a degree of risk in order to talk about these things that I think are interesting and aren't advocated for very well due to optics. So I try to find a covert, subversive, optically digestible way to talk about these important issues. So, in a twist of fate, here is what I said 2 days before he released this video. Racism doesn't exist. You might ask, well, then what do you call a white man who calls a black man the N-word? To which I would respond, my dad. Racism is just modern witch hunting. The aim is to circumvent the law, to character assess. Racism is just modern witch hunting, okay? Now, I used to think racism was an issue on the left and with the liberals, but now it's happening on the kosher right, kosher centrist, parts of MAGA. Still think racism is real and it exists, and it doesn't just serve to disempower white people. 2 days later, homeboy is going through it, and we're going to get into it. I like this guy a lot. Got some criticisms, though. You probably won't want to hear him, won't care, which is fine, which is fair. So 2 days later, he says this.
And I'm just like, dude, how is it that like grown adults, ostensibly grown adults, have managed to get themselves into this much of a tizzy over words they don't like? What has happened to us as a nation?
Now, he is referencing, as we'll get into, he has been attacked in his IRL life. He has a wife and a kid. It's been very difficult. It's really tarnished a lot of his friendships and relationships, even close ones.
What has happened to us as a people? That's what this comes down to. By the way, if any of you people out there, because there's a lot of brainwashed progressives that think that out on a rural area, they're not safe or whatever. Okay, I live in a rural area, and I'm telling you right now, all these MAGA types turn into Antifa in the drop of a hat the moment that you say something racist. The moment that you say something that might be against black people or brown people or Jews or any of it, they turn into frothing mad witch hunters. And
I just thought that was incredible. 2 days later, he is going through it because people on the right still think racism is an actual thing. It has no universal meaning. It cannot be an actual thing. It is just meant to politically target people. And, man, the Sperg speaks to my soul, man. Now, we're going to cover his battle with Christianity, okay? We're going to give him a fair shake. I support him through and through. He is honest to a fault, to his own detriment, which part of me respects and appreciates, and the other part of me is like, did you have an idea that this was going to happen? But we'll cover that in a little bit. I had to personally edit this to edit out the YouTube safe, the non-YouTube safe words. Hopefully I got them all. There's not too many, but we'll see how that goes. We got Drenth with $5. Thank you so much, bud. I'm guessing all this happened before Kirk got popped, but I will watch this later. Put with the boys at the with the boys at the moment. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. Very much appreciated. Oh, hello. Dude Sweet for 5 gifted memberships. Unbelievable. Fellas. There might be a reason why people are gifting these memberships, okay? There's some really fun hangout conversations behind the paywall. You'll know them. You'll know them by their name. You'll know them by their fruit. Sometimes they're 7 hours long. The one on New Year's Eve was after the show. The after party was like 4 hours long. There's also shorter pieces. There's some lore of my more Libby days back in 2017. So I understand. I spiritually understand the Shameless Sperg. Because I have the benefit, the privilege of being able to show my transformation of what I've thought along the way for almost a decade now. So definitely enjoy the stuff behind the paywall. There's over a dozen hours behind the paywall at this point. But you didn't come here to hear me talk. You came here to hear me rock, okay? So let's get into it. The Shameless Sperg spurged a little too close to the sun. Now, in his defense, big time for $5. Thank you. Am I flying solo tonight? Yes, I am. You know what? I don't need Fist here with his actual knowledge, his actual historical knowledge and intellect to get in the way of my verbal slop. Okay. Thank you, big time. So, what was he supposed to do? How is he supposed to know how to handle all of this attention? It is like one of the quickest growing YouTube channels in history, in the upper 0.1% of YouTube channel growth possible, okay? And he got so frustrated that he was like, screw it. I have a wife and a kid. I'm just going to go out and say it. I don't care how it sounds. I'm just going to say it. I know that feels good, but that is what your political opposition wants you to do in order to ruin your life. And that is what happened. But the feels that this guy has, I want you to kind of catch some feels that I get from him, okay? In a very gay way. It's funny. He's kind of Libby. In pagany, he tried Christianity again after this. He's a confused man. I understand it. There's no way that he could predict how to handle all of this attention. People love him, dude. Like, he got way more attention than anybody could hope for starting a YouTube channel. Double Mumble for $5. Thank you very much. Get Drenth on the show. His voice is inspiring. No, Drenth belongs behind the paywall, okay? I want him all to myself. He is not ready for public consumption, okay? They're not going to get it. I get him. So let's get into it. He's been gone for a while. He scrapped all of his content because, well, IRL is getting kind of tough. And they're not letting up, unfortunately. Colin Christensen, $10. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I was wondering what happened to him. Right. This isn't like good for the algorithm, what I'm doing, right? These solo streams are kind of a passion project, so to speak. Sometimes. Big time $5. Thank you very much. His channel blew up after the Charlotte Hendricks outrage. I remember. Yes, it did. And he's catching flack from all sides because she's a moo, apparently. Oh, he's getting attacked. And this is what I was afraid of, going more right wing. I didn't want to have a community that was going to be like attacking and whatnot. And I just like chill fellas, and I've been blessed with chill fellas. Homeboy over here, not so lucky. So now let's really get into it.
Folks, I am the Shameless Sperg. I hope you're doing well today. So obviously I haven't posted anything in quite a while. It's been a pretty crazy ride. So, I posted a number of videos along the way, kind of updating people on the situation that I've been dealing with as it unfolded. And with every new video, I'd be quoted at the town hall because locals have just continued keeping this whole thing alive. and, you know, hanging off my every word and following my content just to upset themselves over it and give my wife all kinds of trouble for being married to me. Had people calling for us to be divorced, had people pretty much saying that I should lose everything, that I should lose my family, my children, and all of these things, all for videos that they don't like, that they didn't have to watch. And it's been exhausting, you know, and they haven't broken my spirit, but it's just been hard. It's been a hard time. And, you know, most of all, it's been betrayals, you know, betrayals from ostensible friends and family members who, you know, hitched their rides to the rumor mill and spun a bunch of yarn and added to it and magnified it intensely just to make sure it would just get uglier and uglier and never die. You know, God forbid that we just let somebody carry on with their life.
Now, yes, that shouldn't happen, okay? We're going to be encountering a lot of things shouldn't be this way, but they are this way, right? So, like, I wonder, like, did you plan on a giant backlash against you? Showing your face, making it a way, making there ways to find out who you are and attack you personally. Like, did you really not see that coming, especially toward the end? So, like, I know hindsight's 2020, but I mean, a good strategy would be to just paywall some stuff and then do your spicier stuff behind the paywall. But unfortunately, he really opens his heart publicly. And the issue with opening your heart publicly while criticizing the moos and being a racial purist, so to speak, is that people are going to hold everything against you, what you say. You're making the utmost antagonistic content possible, okay? So obviously they were going to do this, you know?
You know, even if we don't like their opinion. I know, but that's just a novel concept, right? Let somebody keep living their life, even if they have the nerve to speak their opinion and you don't like it. So, you know, for the interest of family and for the interest of my wife, I decided to kind of go quiet, go dark. And, you know, as much as I want to come out guns blazing and just say it all like I always do for the time being, I still need to lay low just a little bit and not come in with my full fury. That's going to come eventually. I can assure you of that. I have to have a place to speak my mind, you know? That's how all of this got started to begin with. Just a desperate need to just speak my mind, share my thoughts and my opinions, and most of all, just be heard, be understood, whether people agreed with me or not. I just wanted to be heard.
And from the chat, Shameless Sperg is on Rumble. Yes, he is, with only 2 videos on there, and we're going to watch both videos that are on there. They're insightful and pretty funny. He really is. Like, okay, the reason why there's pagans is because Christianity is universalist, okay? And I've asked this a couple of times. The Christian solution to the racial backlash that whites get doesn't seem to be satisfactory for many people on the right, and so they lean more toward paganism because they prioritize race above God, above everything else. And this is something that has to be rectified on the right.
And I wanted the intellectual honesty for people to say, that makes sense. I can see how you got from point A to point B, you know, whether you agree with me or not. Now, it turns out that a whole fucking lot of people agree with me. A lot of people agree with me, and there's a lot of people that are just too afraid to say it. And I understand why. I totally get it.
Yes, there are people that are afraid to say these things. I also cater to that audience, right? But you also want to stay alive on YouTube. It's just the greatest reach that you can have. It's big picture. You have to think of the channel as a baby, and your baby has to come first. Otherwise, it'll implode, especially if you're not prepared to go to alternative channels. And honestly, fellas, if you don't have YouTube, the alt media scene is really tough. Okay.
You know, you look at the situation that I've been dealing with, and I understand why people are afraid. But the problem for me is that it's, I think, sick and twisted that we live in a time where supposedly we live in this free country, and supposedly we have free speech, and we have all these rights, but we're afraid to use them. And what's happened where we're afraid to use these basic fundamental freedoms? You know, they say freedom of speech is not freedom from consequence, and they're all too happy to be the ones to deliver those consequences to you and set themselves up like they have some sort of divine mandate to go on a crusade and a witch hunt against you. So they love to say this, they love to invoke that line, but at a certain point, when you know you intend to deal so much damage that it causes real material, reputational costs and damage to a person, it is disingenuous to pretend that you have respected free speech. It is very disingenuous. Don't believe that bullshit, because I don't believe it. You know, some of these people close to us, and we even had like a family friend you know, my little daughter was friends with their little boy, and they had a great time together. They were best friends to each other, and it was a precious little friendship that they had. And, you know, unfortunately, the adoptive mother of that boy, the entire time, was going behind our backs and twisting things that we were saying, taking things out of context, and just making up whole cloth stories, such as that I'm addicted to cocaine or something. I don't fucking use cocaine. All right. I don't use cocaine. I don't even like it. Back from, you know, when I was a teenager and experimented with different drugs, it's one of the drugs I tried. I don't care for it too much.
I didn't care for cocaine too much either. And this is why I like him. He'll talk about his past, and like, you know, people that he wants support from will like give him shit for talking about, like, he used to be involved in the occult dark arts. Okay. Later on, he'll bring up religious trauma. Okay. So very religiously conflicted. Okay. Which is very interesting to me. And I imagine it can be difficult for him to discuss these things with people that have a religious vested interest, so to speak. But I love his honesty about his past. He catches a lot of shit for it. You guys would love me on cocaine. You'd love it. Everything's interesting to me. It never made me hedonistic. I'm just really interested in what people are talking about. Never got addicted or anything, though. I don't have a very addictive personality.
Much. And most of all, because I observed what it did to people when they would use it, what it turned them into. And I wanted nothing to do with it. And it came pretty close to home, you know, for me, because my own biological father, he had serious struggles with drugs. And one of the main ones he struggled with was cocaine. So it always kind of served as an extra deterrent for me to not go down that road. So to be accused of doing cocaine was uniquely insulting. Not that this person would know or care about that chapter of my history. She just wanted to create trouble and call it concern. She's concerned. She also called CPS, you know, try to get my kids taken from me.
So right there, okay, you can hear it in his voice, and I like listening to him because he really, when he talks, he sounds distressed sometimes. And I view it as an act of masculinity to really like speak from the heart like that, unabashedly, shamelessly. And that's the reason why he really connects with me when he speaks. But you know, CPS call, like, he's going through it, man, you know? Oh, also, his Buy Me a Coffee is in the description, I believe. It should be. Let me know if it is. I believe it is.
That's the sort of thing I've been dealing with, okay? This registered foster parent who had so many opinions about my parenting and so many opinions about what I should be doing with my kids, how I should be teaching them, how I should be instructing them, and how I should be guiding them in their values, in their intellectual development. She had all kinds of opinions. Well, let me tell you something. If you have an opinion about my parenting, no, you don't. No, you don't. So you can shut the fuck up. I doubt very seriously that she's watching. But if she is, you know, you're a fucking scoundrel. Okay. You're a scoundrel, and you had better stay out of my life. And anybody connected to my life. You know, I'm completely out of our periphery. You don't belong anywhere near us. And you need—
Rhetorically, not the greatest strategy. Telling the trolls, telling people affecting you to stop doing it publicly. You know, these are the missteps that he makes because he's a pure soul. Okay. He's sometimes too pure for this content creation space because he kind of gives away too much. Make a paywall, discuss these things behind a paywall, right? To you know, the hard R fellas that just got added, you know, you'll see me talk about things more personally behind the paywall, right? Things that a general audience, I don't know, it just doesn't need to hear, I guess. Just having that level of boundary when communicating online, especially with your content, dude. Especially with your content, they're going to use everything to go after you. It's unfortunate.
need to just move on, get a life, mind your own, and fuck off. You know, it's absolutely disgusting what some people will do in situations like these. You never realize just how bad it can get. I knew it could get bad.
Yeah, so this is a really good point, Kang Armadillo. He's fed the trolls before, big mistake. Yes. And he had people in his community to say, dude, you are reading all the comments and you're taking them to heart. I'm telling you, man, he's a little bit lib-coded. He's feelsy, which is good. Which is good. As a human being, very good, genuine, excellent. But you are entering a political space, okay? It needs to be strategic. You need to be thinking a few steps ahead of what you're doing, right? So, I mean, I do fault him for it, but I understand it. But, like, he did kind of bring some of this onto himself because you would think that, like, you would know that you're going to be targeted, right? It's unfortunate.
And I know people lie, and I know people make up stories, but holy shit, at the lies and the stories that came generated out of this whole mess. I honestly could never have seen coming quite the level of dishonesty, slurs, slander, rumors, just outrageous lies and distortions, and all of this malice, and cries for divorce. Like you're trying to break up a family over fucking words you don't like. And so I hope if some of these people even have a capacity to feel genuine shame, it might be time for you to do that, because that's incredibly shameful. It's incredibly shameful. And for all of the hate and resentment and contempt that I can express sometimes, I have to say that I wouldn't do this to people. Okay. I wouldn't do this to my worst enemy. I really wouldn't, because it's so spineless and it's disgusting and it's.
This is a problem that I mentioned that I had with the right wing. So I said this September 6th. I said the Shameless Sperg, while having massive growth to 57,000 subs on YouTube in 3 months, identified as a nudesy and Sperged his account off of YouTube. My issue with the right wing is that they're not subversive. They're playing an honorable game with dishonorable liars. So, like, yes, I understand that you wouldn't do that. Absolutely. And on an interpersonal level, I understand operating this way, but you are online in a political space where you are setting yourself up to be headhunted, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I understand the point that you're making, but that is the issue. That is the reason why we're at where we're at. We are honest. They are lying, right? So I try to implement the leftist subversion I've been surrounded by my entire life, and subversion that I'm learning about this last year, and trying to incorporate that in right-wing content and advocacy.
Wicked and diabolical, and I just wouldn't do that. Would I say things that might offend you? Yeah, but at least I'm being honest. At least I'll be straight up with you. If I have something offensive to say to you, I'm just going to say it, and it'll just be, that's what I think, that's how I feel. No beating around the bush, just honest. And these people are not honest, and they don't care to be. They don't care about truth. Any one of these people that has made up lies and stories, if they were so concerned, could have come to me if they had a spine.
This is interesting. Paradigm Audio, paywall would have deprived me of finding him. Are you saying light content overall, then have payroll for depth? Well, no, like if you have, okay, think of it this way. If you're a content creator and you have 50,000 subscribers, you should have a YouTube memberships. You should have that. Now, I could easily have tiers above $5. We can all agree on that, okay? I could easily jack up the price and have different tiers very easily. People with way shittier content than me have way higher tiers that don't offer anything at all whatsoever. I could do that. The purpose of I have a $1 tier. You think I make money on the $1 tier? I have a $5 tier, and that's it. It's not necessarily about making money. It's more so about not having to worry about the algorithm when you're making certain kinds of content, right? So, like, I could have paywalled this, but I want this to be seen publicly. But there might be other types of content where it's not going to do well in the algorithm, and I might as well just like have it with an insular community so I can talk about it in a different way. It's not, traditionally it is about making money, but I really don't care about money the way that other people do.
And asked me and expressed their concerns to me, but they didn't. Not a one of them, not a single fucking one. And it's just shameful. So, and you people are cowards. You're cowards and you're backbiting losers. And you should feel very ashamed. I'm not ashamed. You know why? Because I'm the Shameless Sperg. I am not ashamed. And so it's been ugly. It's been very ugly. On the other hand, oh, and I gotta say, there's been like 6 fucking articles written, like 6. And there was even a short segment on local TV dealing with this subject, this situation. And I'm just like, dude, how is it that like grown adults, ostensibly grown adults, have managed to get themselves into this much of a tizzy over?
Dude, did you see what happened to Nick Sandman when he was 16? A 16-year-old white boy smiling at a Native American? It made national news and he got death threats from celebrities. So, like, how surprised are you really? Is what's bizarre to me. It is the Sperg side of him. It's a little too autistically hyper-focused on things should be a certain way, but it's like, yeah, but they're not. Like, you should know that, man. TK, $5. Thank you very much. In an ideal world, I'd keep about 3 Gs of white girl in a bug out case in case shit hit the fan and ignore it otherwise. Emergency use only. I can also operate with that white temptress myself. Colin Christensen, $5. Thank you. Honor and mercy only works when reciprocated. These people have no honor or mercy. Yes, exactly. And a part of him knows this, right? But I feel like he gets so frustrated where he just says, fuck it, which is what they want, so you make mistakes. You know what? Fuck it. I don't care. I'm going to say whatever. Yeah, they're going to be listening to you. They're going to be targeting you. Absolutely. Very important to couch your speech publicly in a certain way, which is an act of rhetoric, but I completely agree. Is Sperg still around? I'm subscribed and I don't know. $2 testing. Thank you. Yes, he is, but he's laying low right now because they are harassing him because he used the J word and he said the J things in a very J way.
Words they don't like. What has happened to us as a nation? What has happened to us as a people? That's what this comes down to. By the way, if any of you people out there, because there's a lot of brainwashed progressives that think that out in a rural area, they're not safe or whatever. Okay, I live in a rural area, and I'm telling you right now, all these MAGA types turn into Antifa in the drop of a hat the moment that you say something racist. The moment that you say something that might be against black people or brown people or Jews or any of it, they turn into frothing mad witch hunters. They join right along with the Rainbow Clan to come after you. So don't be under any illusion, okay? You know, whether you're a progressive or anyone else, do not be under any illusion that people in rural towns are somehow like your total enemies, right? They're more enemies of someone like me, you know, someone who...
Correct. This is why we have to deny the term racism wholesale. Because if you're on the right, quote unquote, and you still think you're like, okay, racist, the left is like crazy about racism, but I'm not racist. You're susceptible to doing to the shameless Sperg what shouldn't be done. You're still afraid of being associated with a racist. You're still playing the moose game. You're still playing the left's game. You're still on a leash. You're still on the plantation. If you think racism, anti-Semitism, all the obics, they are only meant to deteriorate normal society. So they're not legitimate terms. Look at what they do to people's lives with those terms. And then you're like, yeah, but it's still a real thing. No, it isn't.
Came out with a strongly nationalistic race first message. They will hunt you down and torment and taunt you endlessly. And they'll be on their little righteous high horse in the crusade. So don't you go thinking for a second that you are in danger in a place like this. These people will more quickly come to your defense if you're a rainbow person than if you're somebody like me. And this whole ordeal that I have lived through has proved that to me very well. I even went into this whole thing with a bit of naivety. I figured if and when I'm ever doxxed, locals around here won't give a shit. They're country folk. They probably won't care at all. In fact, some of them will probably privately sympathize. And some of them do sympathize, okay, privately, very quietly. They've written to us, okay, expressing care and concern for the situation that we've been living in and saying, by the way, I agree with Shameless Sperg. It's happened plenty. So they're out there. They're out there. But the most vocal people, of course, have been detractors, naysayers, and all of that shit. And it got so bad that we ended up having to hire a lawyer and issue a couple of cease and desist orders. And interestingly, a lot of lies and slander started to die down after that, as far as at least what was being brought up in public discussion, like at town hall meetings or whatever. Lies and slander, they started to die down, you know? And so it was clear to me that these people understood that they were lying, that they were making shit up. Otherwise, they'd have persisted, and they haven't. If you can hear any barking in the background, that's because recently we got a German Shepherd puppy. Goodness, she's a yappy lad. I kind of wanted to break down some of that for you. And, you know, I've always been very honest and very open, sometimes honest and open to a fault.
Yes.
There's times in retrospect where I feel like, well, maybe I should have just sat quietly with that one and not talked about it. But I like to talk about things as they come. I like to tell you what I think.
This is why I like him. Things weigh heavy on his heart and he has to talk about it. I would just say, do that with an insular community and not out in public.
And what I feel as it happens. And there are a lot of twists and turns in a journey like that, especially in a situation as dramatic, explosive, and tumultuous as the situation that we've been in. All right. So, you know, I'd made a number of videos discussing a sort of return to Christianity. But here's what you have to understand. My history with this religion goes back to when I was very, very young, 6 or 7 years old, when I started to get taught like heavy theology, heavy doctrine, you know, not just the Jesus loves me, this I know stuff. It was the heaven and the hell. It was the end times. It was, you know, it was sin and redemption. It was heavy stuff, you know, and, you know, an early fear and guilt complex that I had acquired. And whereas, you know, naturally speaking, when I am walking more according to what feels natural to me, I sort of go towards the pagan paths. I've always been that way, but then let everything in my life just completely come apart, and I've had a few swings back.
He goes toward the pagan path because with Christianity, it's universalist and it doesn't address. He'll get into this later on, but I would like to hear more of a Christian response to this, because he does raise, rhetorically sound concerns when it comes to the universalism of Christianity.
To Christianity. And it's obvious in retrospect, looking at it, I'm like, okay, I'm seeking for what feels safe, for what feels comfortable, and for what feels stable and certain. And, a sort of path of dogma and rigid belief and rigid obedience, it seems to promise and provide some sort of normalcy, some sort of stability. Good Lord, they are so loud. I'm going to try to make it through this. This yapping is going on right now. Yeah, there were certain synchronicities that kind of lined up that sort of led me that way. But the thing is like, I've had synchronicities go in a number of directions. Some of them contradictory. Some synchronicities seem to lead to one place and other synchronicities seem to lead to another. And so just the emergence of synchronicities does not necessarily validate, a truth claim. It doesn't necessarily validate like, yes, I'm doing the right thing. Yes, I'm going down the right path. But, I was brought into a state of real crisis by all of this. Everything was falling apart, and I was watching family connections, friendships just completely crumble all around me, and it just wasn't stopping. And the dividing line was getting really serious. So like the whole family is split right down the middle at this point, with some of them kind of joining the chorus of naysayers and slanderers, people that should know better, or people that should have been willing to set this aside for the sake of family. And they didn't do that. And, shame on them for it. There's nothing I can do about it. And I was regularly watching my wife get very upset. A lot of pressure was being brought to bear on her. And, every new video, every new statement of sheer honesty was being, again, brought up at town halls, being, thrown at her, and the drama just would not stop. And it just continued and continued. And just in the interest of not seeing my wife crumble, just for a minute, to have some reprieve, some relief from all the ugliness, I decided, this is a good time for me to quiet down. Let me quiet down, because people who hate me have been watching every video, and I'm sure they'll watch this one too. My God, you people have no life. And I'm sure they'll watch this one too, and I'll probably hear about it or something. They have nothing better to do. They have no lives. It's very obvious. But months later, and I'm still dealing with bullshit. You people have no life. You have obviously no life. You need to get one, and it needs to not involve me at all. But whatever. So, all of this stuff brought me to a point of crisis, of searching for a place of safety and comfort, of searching for something that would feel stable and carved out, and, something that I feel like I could sink my teeth into and rely on. There's something about the pagan paths and the mystic paths that don't always offer that kind of rigidity. And that's sort of one of the things that makes it appealing. And yet sometimes when you find yourself in a crisis, you find yourself sometimes wanting to reach for something that feels more solid, even if it's an illusion. And that's kind of what I dealt with, And so I came out with a story, and I came out, with a profession of faith. And I came out saying like, look, I'm going to go in a different direction with this, and I don't know if I'm fighting the right fight. But since then, I've had a lot of people still reach out to me. I've still had people donating to me and expressing concern, but also expressing appreciation for the things I did, for the things I said, and for kind of having the balls to say it. They appreciated that a lot. And, for that reason, I feel like almost obligated to speak, almost obligated to share my thoughts. And
I've also felt that way too, when getting support and people are like, hey, this really helped me out. Like, this is, you have a sense of importance, and you're like, you know what, I really, no matter what I'm feeling, I should continue, because it's actually having an impact on people's lives in one way or another. So I definitely understand that. Big time $5, mate. Thank you. We have no power, hence we have to follow all the rules. Those in power make up new rules every day. Now, that's a very frustrating thing to think, feel, and acknowledge. So I understand how some people go, screw it, I don't care, I don't accept that. Is that a politically good attitude to have? No. Is it understandable? Absolutely. COD mode enabled, the troll of the chat. $2. He's a crybully. He doxed mooish commentators on YouTube. I don't believe you, and I'm almost positive you're gay. Testing for $5. Thank you very much. Public persona versus private persona. Just came my dad's birthday. I said things about all groups except for Hispanics. My brother-in-law's a quarter Mexican. Time and place. You got to know where you're at. And is it worth it? It's an opportunity cost, right? How much am I going to put in? And what am I going to get out of it? What would you get out of it if you did that, right? So there's an opportunity cost is going to be a reoccurring theme. Testing for $2. Thank you. Sperg was previously a dedicated Christian. Yeah, he goes back and forth because of the whole race thing, man. The race thing is the most important thing to him. Bubblegum for $2. Thank you. Christ cucks are our enemy as much as the LGBTQers. I understand that perspective because I don't have a solid answer on the universalism of Christianity. So it's not rectified. Same team. Okay. You got to fight the left. You got to fight the commies. Got to fight the moos. Same team. Let's work it out, which is why I like what Joel Webbin's doing with Nick Fuentes. Big time, $5. Thank you so much. My Serbian church will help others in need, but not to the detriment of their tribe. They follow their own version of Ordo Amoris. Also, it seems like the ortho circles are relatively white from what I've heard from Fist. But yeah, having, well, that's the misconception with Christianity is you're just helping everyone. So it's definitely been bastardized 100%. So that's why I'm looking for more clarification from my Christian fellers. Point curation, $2. Thank you. Thanks for speaking your mind. Look at that fucking picture. You get that off the screen as quickly as humanly possible. Let's keep going, fellas.
Say, here's where I'm at. Here's what's going on. In particular, there's this one guy who at least goes by the username of N-word Snowman. It's really funny. I'm pretty sure he's being funny. N-word. It's spelled E-N-W-O-R-D, but there's no way.
Fellas, am I going crazy or have we had N-word Snowman in chat? I'm pretty sure we have. I'm pretty sure he's been in chat.
Like N-word doesn't mean like it has.
Oh my God, is that him? It is. Yes. Oh, I was hoping you were going to show up, dude. You're about to get a highlight in just a moment. What a man. What a mighty good man. Unbelievable. Is this you? It has to be.
He's been donating to me like outrageously, generously. I could have never anticipated it. I woke up this.
This is true. If we go to the Shameless Spergs, buy me a coffee, which should be listed in the description, we have N-word Snowman right here. Just wishing him a Merry Christmas. God knows how much you paid him. And unbelievably thankful in his time of need. N-word Snowman again. Hey man, happy Thursday. Just an uplifting voice. Toss him some shekels to be like, hey man, hang in there. Sorry to be getting back to you several days late. So this dude's going through it. N-word Snowman is single-handedly responsible for bringing this man back to life in his darkest time. This is now a part of history. Me saying that, this is for posterity. That is just a fact, and no one can disagree with that fact.
This morning to find another donation, and I was just like, all right, fucking, I need to sit down.
That's a different guy. Oh, what? How many N-word Snowmans are there? Never mind, you're a piece of shit. Fuck you. You're imitating the good N-word Snowman, okay? That's insane. Fuck. I really... Shit. Is that you or not? Are you messing with me? How many can there be? Now I'm confused. Let's continue.
I'm gonna make a recording. If I'm still gonna have people writing in with words of support, and I'm still gonna have people donating and shit, like I need to say something. To toss a line out there.
Bro, what are the odds? What are the odds that there's 2 N-word snowmen? Is that a thing that I don't know about?
And to say, hey, I still exist. Hey, yeah, I'm still a Shameless Sperg, and I'm still shameless, and I'm still not sorry, for anything I've said or done. You can look back on anything. I've never said sorry, and I'm not going to because I'm not sorry. All I've ever done is just spill my thoughts, share how I feel about things, how I see them, and how I arrived at that perspective. And it turns out that, I was singing the tune of a lot of people, and I was saying what a lot of people are thinking or feeling. And I didn't realize that it would be that way. I didn't. I figured that some people would appreciate the honesty. They would appreciate that. I just didn't realize that it would seemingly speak for so many people. And that put me in a really interesting position. And it's kept me in a really interesting position. Because it's kind of created a sense of almost obligation to continue on, even after this lull. And look, growth is hard, on Rumble, it's hard. And I know I was on X a bit I was on X as well for a bit, and I had to leave. It's just being on there was too toxic. It was keeping me too angry, like to like a not useful extent of angry. There's a certain level of anger that I need to bring to creating this content because there's a clarity that comes with it. Like, here, this is really how I fucking feel about this thing. So there were times I would get myself a little amped up and angry on purpose before recording because I knew that, like, all right, the honest rant will come out of me in this headspace. But the problem on X, though, is just, my God, you were just swimming in a sea of just, it's a cesspit. And it's just so.
See, so this is why I'm saying, okay, he's a little bit lib-coded, right? We have, I don't remember this guy being so gay sounding. I do. But I guess I've watched his more like emotional videos. We are all Edward Snowden. But like, he's shameless to a fault, right? Like, this is something, this is what I'm saying. This is something I would put like behind a paywall, right? Like, he's very emotional, but he struck a chord with a lot of people, right? However, when you are criticizing the Moos and the Blacks to the ultimate degree, and boy, oh boy, the more attention he got, the more he didn't couch his speech. Like, this is going to come back to like really haunt you, right? So, you know, you can't be like emotionally open like this to this degree when you're making that kind of content.
Ugly. And there's so much shit on there all the time that just makes you, I mean, for me, it makes me like murderously angry. And, you know, there's an extent of that becomes kind of unhealthy. And so I just made the decision, I just need to leave. So I deleted my X account. I stepped away, deleted accounts in most other places as well. You know, I kept Rumble open because I figured, well, I definitely will come back out and say something eventually. So I left that, and, you know, I still have my Buy Me a Coffee, but it's like, I don't even have it posted anywhere, and I've still been getting some donations. I'm like, you guys are great. I mean, seriously, you know, I haven't been spamming it. I haven't even had my own old content posted. Where are you at?
The thing too is that in the video that I made, he talks about like being brought up like very like liberal mom. What is it? What is the file name for someone who's all about the moos? Not a Semitophile. What is it? A file? Whatever it is. Mom, very, very pro-moo, and he was brought up liberal, and he gave it a shot. And so, you know, I've made the argument that this isn't who we are, it's what we became. For most of us, we have a liberal default that we start with because of society. It's a philemite, something like that. So, you know, it's during the most developmental time in your life when you're growing up, you have this liberalism in you, and he just can't shake it. But it's also combined with this very unshakable, strong racial preference. Here's what's tough, though. Being hyper individualistic as a white collectivist is really tough, right? So, like, what community does he go to when he's like kind of a pagan, kind of a Christian, kind of unsure? You know, the community's not necessarily supporting him at that point.
Guys coming from, you know, I mean, I guess I made a difference in your world, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that I somehow made a difference in your world, and that what I did here mattered to someone. It means a lot. It really does. But yeah, it's been a hard time. And so, you know, and I've been going to church here recently with my family, and like, there's some really good people there, and they've been good to us, and they've been a strong support during this time. When I say support, look, don't twist me here. These people don't really agree with all my views. I don't need them to. That's not the point. The point is that, you know, these people are quality enough and big enough in heart to be there for us, you know, during a time when being there for us was to incur drama and wrath upon yourself. And so I appreciate that. And but you know, it was after going to church a few times. I enjoy it. It's nice. I started to realize that my disconnect with it all, it's still there. You know, the problems that I've raised before, like in some of my earlier Christian question videos, those problems are still there, you know, and no amount of running away made those problems disappear. No amount of trying to shut my ears and say la 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 and forget all the evidence that I've seen, you know, it didn't make that disappear. And, you know, sooner or later, once the haze of a return to old time religion, once the haze passes and the dust settles, you realize that every issue and every question and every inconsistency and every objection that you ever had, it's still there. And furthermore, I started to realize, I'm sure some of them are going to watch this, whatever. Hey guys, this is just my honest thoughts. Okay. Take him or leave him. I'm not going to answer for them, right? You can tune in or you cannot tune in. And what I have to say about it starts and ends here. Like, I don't have to unpack or explain anything to anyone. But it was after a few services, and like the subject of Nigerian Christians kept coming up, and like the persecution that they're going through and all of that stuff. And that's bad. You know, religious persecution, it sucks. It's not nice. It's not friendly. And believe me, I am no friend of Islam, not a bit.
Now, this is just hilarious that he's making this very racialized, very mood critical content. And then he's like, all right, let me try out Christianity. And they're talking about this Nigerian crisis. Let's see how it went for our boy, okay?
And so to that extent, yeah, I feel bad. But on the other hand, I just like nowhere in my heart did I make myself able to care about Nigerians. I don't care. And I just realized that, like, damn, I don't care. I'm trying to care. They want me to care. We're praying about caring, and I don't care. I'm trying, and I can't, and I don't care. And I just realized, like, look, I really just do care about my people. It doesn't mean I literally hate everyone else, but when I've always expressed this sort of apathy about other people, it's still there. And I realized that. And I realized how unchristian that is. And then it brought me right back to one of my biggest problems with it. It's that I'm not universal. Okay. I'm not a universalist because I can't bring myself to care about all people groups equally, you know, just in the name of a universal creed like Christianity. I can't make myself care. I don't care. I don't care. I'm not cheering on their persecution. I don't actively want them to be being, you know.
Now, I experienced this as an atheist in terms of like, I don't care and I don't know how to make myself care. So I deeply empathize with that, with the certain things, certain tenets that come up. You deserve what you tolerate. $20. Thank you so much, my dude. Matthew 27:25. I'm going to try and do this. Any edict that attempts to absolve the moos of their generational responsibility for decide is heresy. And as we all know, heresy is the question, fire is the answer. Sister Superior Muriel Sabathiel. I'm not good with these, dude. Does that mean that we can not let the moos get away with their stuff? I'm so sorry. I'm trying. I'm new. Thank you, though. Testing $2. Hard to care about other species. You don't say. Kalergi over on Rumble. Thank you very much for $5. I found him 2 vids in when he was doing car rants. Same. I left a comment on one of his fuck whites who can't deal saying, even if we fail, you get to say you tried. I got a like. I'm kind of a big deal. Kalergi for another $5 on Rumble. Thank you very much. It was endless. JFED accusations that got to him. He even posted a censored family video to beat the allegations. See? Do you see what I'm saying, man? He's too pure for this online political world, dude. Keep it stoic. Share some of that stuff to the people that are actually, you know, you should try to persuade those that would like to be persuaded, right? Don't try to persuade people that you can't persuade. That is rough. Was his banishment to a barely viewed Rumble enough proof of his authenticity for people? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he got banished all right, but that's what I'm saying, dude. Just, you know, on one hand, how could he know what to do with all this attention? But on the other hand, don't you know what they were going to try to do to you, right? Huge misstep. Seems like a genuinely sincere, great guy that's really trying to figure out his spiritual direction.
Persecuted and abused and all that stuff. I don't want, it's ugly, right? I don't want that. But am I heartbroken over it? No, because I don't care about Nigeria. I don't care about Nigerians. I just don't. And nothing can seem to change that. And it got me thinking more broadly, like, yeah, I mean, this is still the universalist program. It's still the universalist faith. It's still the universalist church. And that's just how it is. And Christianity is inherently that way, except for a couple of strange mutations like Christian identity or whatever, or British Israelism. You know, these other approaches, they try to center, you know, white people kind of at the middle and say, well, no, this is a racial religion and it's all around Israel identity, and the true Israel people are like, you know, it's either the British or it's more inclusive, like more forms of European are also part of it. And I was never convinced of those doctrines. I looked into it and I was like, I don't think so. I don't think so. And I've never been persuaded by that. So that leaves me with, look, it's a universal religion. Okay. And I'm not a universal person at all. And I'm not going to.
I know that the other Paul gave me an argument for the Anglican case for supporting white people. I forget exactly what it was. It's in the Mikhail Olson stream that I did.
Feel bad about it. Like, I don't feel bad about it. And I know that some would be like, that's something that you need to repent of. I can't. I care about my own. I care about my people above all, you know, and I feel like too many of our people don't. And like, we need any help with that. You know, the rest of the people groups, they don't really care about us either. They don't care about our fate and our future. And so who else is supposed to care? Who else is supposed to stand up for us and to take a decisive stance? But in order to actually stand up for us, you can't stand up for all people. It's not all samesies. It's not all equality. And, you know, it may be that, you know, in Christ, there is neither Jew nor Greek and so on and so forth. But like in my world, there's definitely different people groups, and all those differences really matter to me. And again, it doesn't mean I hate everybody, but these differences matter. And these differences are such that I think that
we got Crumb Bum over here. I don't see a way to remove universalism from Christianity or make it whites only without fundamentally breaking the faith. It's not about making it whites only. It's about empowering the advocacy for your race with Christianity. So obviously it wouldn't be whites only. You know, and honestly, the blacks that we have that, you know, are Republicans, but that follow Christianity operate very well. They operate better than atheist whites, the black Christian Republicans that we have. Cohesive, contribute to society, great work ethic, very well behaved, very respectable. A lot of them better men than me. So it's not about making it white exclusive, but finding out how it fits in with advocating for white people, if that makes sense.
you know, we should be separate. And, you know, separatism of some form at the very least. And okay, that might hurt some people's feelings, but I think it's a greater evil for me to throw away the fate and destiny of my own people, which is my own offspring and their offspring and future generations, to trade that in for some sort of utopian universalist pipe dream. Because under that pipe dream, my people disappear. They disappear and will be bred out, and they won't exist anymore. And am I okay with that? You know, just because of a universal doctrine? I'm not. And I can't make myself be. I don't feel it. And I had myself a funny moment. So I was in church. It was Christmas Eve, right? Excuse me. It was Christmas Eve. There was like a candlelight service, and it was nice. I mean, it was scenic.
I swear this is a reason why I'm scared to go to church. What he's about to say right now, okay?
It was nice. And they played this video though, and in the video, you know, it was this black dude talking, and he was telling the story of Christmas or whatever. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here knowing that the origin of Christmas is actually like Germanic heathenry, and all of these adornments, and the wreaths, and the trees, and the shiny things, and all the lights, and the gift exchange customs, and all that comes from Germanic heathenry. It all comes from my ancestral folk traditions, and they've sort of been retrofit for, you know, Christian purposes. And so when people say Jesus is the reason for the season, I'm just like, well, you know, even going by the gospel account, he almost certainly was not born during December. And this winter festival has literally nothing to do with them. It has nothing to do with them. So for me, it's just a winter festival. It's a natural festival, and it harkens back to my ancestors, right? And so to me, it is a quintessentially very white holiday. Even if we've sort of retrofitted it with this universalist creed, it's still a very, very white.
Oh, this is interesting from the chat. We got Arden Party. The moment a video was played in church, you have left church. Interesting. Why would they play a video during liturgy? I've never seen that. Interesting. What? It's true, Artie. If you go to church, we'll put you in the Wickerman. Why? No, but he's about to like want to die laughing in church, and like I really just don't want to be disrespectful, but I understand what it's like to find something funny, and when you're not supposed to find it funny, it's all you can think about. It makes it funnier.
Holiday. And so I'm sitting there, they're playing this video, and it's this black guy talking, and my brain just wouldn't let me sit with it. Like,
you can't shake
all
it.
I wanted to do was laugh, and I'm trying to keep quiet, but my brain's just like, it's the Christmas nigga. Look at that, it's the Christmas nigga. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying so hard to not crack up. I'm sitting in church, but I kept my quiet. But of course, when I got home, I told my wife, I'm like, look, bear with me here. But when they played that video, I was like, it's the Christmas nigga. And she shook her head and kind of chuckled at me a little bit. But I couldn't help it. I'm just like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure the people here wouldn't be too appreciative that like that was my response to seeing that video, and I couldn't help it. I literally couldn't control it. I couldn't. It's just in there, right?
It's still cracking him up to this very day. That's how much he couldn't hold it in.
As much as I don't care about Nigerians, I couldn't take it seriously. This black guy telling me the Christmas story, and he's surrounded by all these, you know, Christmassy adornments and decorations and all the lights and the garland and the wreaths and the tree and all this, you know, incredibly Germanic stuff. And I'm just like, yes, Christmas. Tell me about this holiday, Christmas. Tell me all about it. That's how I felt, you know. So. And I know what some of you were thinking, you're white, you can't say that. Well, I just did, you know. You can't tell me I'm the wrong color to make a small mouth noise. That's what speech is. They're small mouth noises. And you're not going to tell me I'm the wrong.
I know, okay? I know that you want to be able to say whatever you want. I understand that, okay? Trust me, I understand that. I am very much a free speech extremist, okay? I understand that, but we're operating in a political space. We are not operating with oughts. We are operating with is, okay? And especially if you have a wife and kid, there's extra consequences, which I'm assuming you had to have known, that are going to be held against you. I understand that you want to say these words and you're supposed to. Don't get carried away by the shoulds, oughts, and supposed tos, okay? They might come back to bite you.
Color to make one. I'll make whatever small mouth noise that I please. You know, I've always done that. And sure, I've paid a tremendous price for doing it, but I'm still going to do it, right? Even if it offends people, because fuck your offense. Get over it, you know? Grow up. Get over yourself.
They're not going to get over it. They're going to make you pay for it dearly. They're going to attack your family. They're going to make you a social pariah. So consider that when you want to Sperg and use the N-word. Think about your daughter and wife before you do it. There's a time and a place. Make sure it's worth it when you do it. I would not recommend just wantonly doing it because you're supposed to be allowed to do it, right?
Get a life. Move on. You know, I'm 38 years old. And I'm old enough to look back at when I was in school, and people tossed around all kinds of words. You think I didn't get called fat when I was a kid? We all did. And guess what? I had to like pick up and just carry on and move on with my life. And, you know, not try to.
Yeah, I'm assuming you were called that a lot. I'm kidding. It was right there. I'm kidding, okay? He's a little lib-coded, you know? May have been an emotional teenager. I bet he thought it was his middle name. I'm done. Just kidding. I support the man. It was right there. I had to pick it up.
It just completely ruined someone's life over it. But, you know, now it's like I'm 38 and a bunch of fully grown adults can't handle just a little offensive word. I wish you could see yourselves. Like, I wish you had the capacity for genuine self-reflection so that you could understand how ridiculous you are and how petty and spineless and weak you are, because you are. And, you know, if you feel personally addressed and you feel like the shoe fits, then wear it. You know, this is a general statement because it applies to a lot of people, and I don't even know all their names or faces. I just know that it applies to a lot of people. And so, yeah, if you're taking it personally, then take it. Take it personally then, you know, wear it if it fits. So I just kind of wanted to lay that out there. I know people, you know, watch me going, you know, to and fro and swinging back and forth. And they were like, wow, you're kind of all over the place. Yeah, I was kind of all over the place because my life was kind of all over the place. You know, everything was blowing up completely and things were fucking chaos.
His growth is unlike anything most people. It's probably the largest growth a Newtsy J Critical account has ever had in human history. I cannot, as a content creator, I cannot express to you how quickly his account grew and how well he was doing and the views he was getting. It happened way faster than my growth, and my growth happened too fast for me, dude. So huge degree of empathy there of doesn't know what to do with it. It was, I don't know what I would have done.
And, you know, shit was being divided up and crumbling and going crazy, and it was explosive. And it just had me being like, fuck, just give me some normalcy. Give me something. Give me some glimmer of hope. Give me some sense of a light at the end of the tunnel. Let me grab onto something that makes me feel like it's going to be okay. And so, you know, I had to swing back to that old time religion of my youth. Made a video about it. You know, some people liked it. A lot of people didn't. And I understand. Like, I've had most of my messaging up to this point has included either small or extensive and sometimes scathing criticisms of Christianity. And so for me to come out and make a message like that, some people were like, what? And others were applauding it, like, yay, you know, so happy to see, you know. But a lot of people are like, what are you doing? Like, and they're like, why are you going back into cognitive dissonance? And I can't remember who said that to me, but it stuck with me. Because here's this person, they listened to a lot of my content, they heard my reasoning, they listened to also my criticisms of Christianity. And they liked what I had to say and how I said it. They liked the points I raised. And I think that they knew that I knew better. And they thought, man, what a shame, you know. And they're like, you're a bright guy, you know, you're a bright guy, you're sharp. Why are you going back into cognitive dissonance? And the truth is, I didn't really have a good answer. I understood where he was coming from, but I didn't have a good answer. And because I was sort of acting on impulse, I was acting on, you know, what I.
It sounds like possibly like whatever church he was going to, they may have also turned on him. I know he found a good church where he feels comfortable and supported, but I don't know what exactly pushed him away from Christianity. If it's just the race aspect combined with people in church being like, you're racist, you know. Really, if you want to, I have gone nuclear. I went nuclear on a coworker for calling me a Newtsy, probably in 2017. So I definitely understand these things. However, I realize that I need to have a certain temperament and calmness if I'm going to be having an outward-facing persona, so to speak. Testing, $2, thank you. Karaoke church, what I call ones with projectors. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like watching videos. It might be more interactive. I don't know. I don't know how that's supposed to go. Seems like a gimmick. Seems like we leave all the electronics aside and we just focus on the word of God is what I'm getting from the fellas in chat. The new GM, $20. Thank you so unbelievably much. I really appreciate it. I prefer ethnos. Oh, is that what you're doing? Ethnos to race as conception. But advocating for either works under Christianity. Christians in general have never had a problem with authority and property rights, and those justify white advocacy. Right. So it's not about making like a white only religion. The religion is so good. The white religion of Christianity is so good that when the blacks actually follow it, way better society, right? Well, in the United States, let's not be too abstract. Okay. I'm talking about black Americans, but we do see the benefit that all races can have from following it. Now, are there limitations to those races? Yes, absolutely. And should we attribute Christianity to whiteness? Absolutely. Look at the world. Look at the West. Look at what built it. Now, Protestant, Orthodoxy, Catholicism, that's for y'all to decide. I'm excited every day that I don't have to have religious arguments, okay? But we are starting with a point of agreement while we are fighting a millennia-old Leviathan.
I felt was spiritual guidance kind of tugging me in a certain direction and feeling like I was supposed to respond to that call. And so as always, it was something I was trying to do something genuine and sincere. I meant what I was doing, even if it was inevitable that in just a few weeks' time, the smoke would clear and I'd start to be like, okay, what am I doing? What have I done? So I find myself now in the on position of, all right, well, fundamentally, that's just not working for me. I can't do it, even with a really solid grasp of the Bible and the ability to speak really good Christianese. I don't know if you've heard that term, Christianese.
This is so unbelievably important, and I don't care about how you feel about him. You have to respect that he's saying, I could fake it. I know how to fake it, but I can't fake it, right? All right, for $2, hit like, share stream, follow Harden Plays. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Good call. I'm so bad at this. I'm so bad at hyping myself. But you see what I'm saying? He knows how to be a fake Christian. He knows how to wear the mask and poses that. And this is why I say I'm an atheist. And when I say like, fuck agnosticism, do you believe that Jesus Christ rose from the dead or not, motherfucker? Okay. Let's draw some hard lines because we're going to have some wishy-washy people, right? As we've seen with the kosher centrists. Okay. Let's draw a hard line. And if someone says, I could fake it, I know how to fake it, but I can't fake it, listen to that person. Listen to him. It's sales, okay? I probably shouldn't treat it this way, but Christianity to me is sales. I'm trying to give you guys warm leads, okay? I'm trying to hand you guys some confused people. I've shown you on occasion people that really want to believe but have difficulty doing it, okay? Yes, I want those people. I'm an atheist, okay? I'm a different animal. I'm fucking built of different fucking material, okay? But you cannot reject a person that says, I could fake it, but I refuse to fake it. What are the sales objections? With him, race. What's the prescription? Let's figure that out so I know what to say to get people over to Christianity, Help the monarch out. Give me some advisors over here. Here's the problem. How do we solve it?
It's the ability to speak and sound like a knowledgeable and experienced Christian. Yeah, I've got that down pat if I really want to do it. And, there's times when I've done that and meant it completely. And there's been times where it's been performative, where I know what to say. And you guys know that I know how to phrase things in a compelling way if I want to. And that's just as much true in that arena as it is in this one. But beneath it all, I have to sit by knowing like, okay, there's this hole in that doctrine and there's this problem with that. And there's this historical factor.
See, I feel like Fist right now would like give him shit for like approaching it like logically, right? As opposed to faith. Which is why he recommends liturgy. But we can all agree, okay? One true believer is much more powerful and much more influential than 1,000 fake believers, right? That's why I respect homies in chat being like, I know he rose from the dead. Me? That's a little rich for my blood, but I respect you. You're saying it with your chest. You really believe, right? And I'm not an envious person, but like a lot of us want to believe, right? And we just have trouble and difficulty getting there. But I respect that, yes, you believe. Someone's like, no, I'm a Christian. Like, I'm dipping my toe. I'm like, you're an atheist, dude. It's like the fucking James Lindsay grift, dude. Shut the fuck up. You believe or you don't. It's a hard line, okay? And I understand that there are some people that are agnostic out there, okay? I do say this like rhetorically. There's some people that want to believe, maybe kind of do believe, okay? But I think I can drive more people toward Christianity by being like, you're an atheist. Try believing in nothing. Try believing that nothing happens after you die and try to develop a morality around that. It's tough. It's scary. That'll scare your ass to go to fucking God, motherfucker.
Here that kind of, flips that on its head. Oh, and by the way, that Christmas tree that you have sitting there, that's literally from Pagan Customs, but sure, let's just pretend like it's not. Just all this stuff. And it would just constantly just jump out at me in my face. Like, you know this, and you have to just bury it and not talk about it and just lie to yourself and don't have the conversation, because I've tried to have the conversation many times in the past and it doesn't work out. Okay. It does not work out. So I kept quiet. And so I've just kind of been sitting with myself and thinking and processing and trying to sort through things, just trying to sort through a lot of real wreckage. Because there's stuff that's happened.
Do you see how he's kind of lib coded? Do you see what I'm saying? Where like he's talking about his feelings, right? Like making the content that you make, right? I understand that you're saying this and you're connecting with people, but like you're really talking about your feelings a lot. And I understand why you have these feelings, but you should well know motherfuckers are going to crucify you for this.
And gone on that I haven't told the internet about, in the past few months. I haven't told everything. Just some highlights. It's been really ugly, and it seems to be like little by little dying down some. Who knows? Maybe me having the nerve to make this video again will just bring it flaring back up and, reignite the whole thing. But as it is, all the drama has lasted far longer than I even had the YouTube channel. I had the YouTube channel for 75 days. And, we're pushing the start.
So you have to realize that as well. For 75 days, that 75 days happened very quickly and it came and it went. Okay. Now it is crushing as a content creator. So this is why I'm building up. Honestly, this is an influence as to why I'm trying to build up parallel structures as I'm doing this, right? Because I've seen what happens and how difficult it is to have like stuff on all platforms. So I understand that it all went away. And I don't know, there's too many talented YouTube dissident right-wing content creators that just don't plan for their channel to go away. It's like, bro, be strategic. Know that it can happen to you at any moment. Do not marvel at what's going on. Never for a second have I marveled at the channel growth that I have. I go, it's a responsibility, service, duty. How do we maintain this? What if something happens? What if my baby dies? That's what I think about. It's a responsibility. But yeah, that is really tough to go. That's almost like a rock star, dude. In the Jay Sperging community on YouTube, to lose all that is like a rock star. All of a sudden, nobody knows who you are, dude. To go from that kind of ego boost to nothing is very tough and very confusing.
Part of a new year. And still drama has followed all this time for months. And I'm just like, my God, you people just need to let it go already. It's awful. So to that extent, I would also like to rate this community 1 out of 10 on the free speech scale. Okay. 1 out of 10. You guys have been really pieces of shit when it comes to free speech. You've been unbearable, you've been insufferable, and you have been small town nightmares, right? I mean, everybody talks about some of the downsides of a small town. Everybody knows everybody and everybody knows everything, blah, 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 blah. You know what? A lot of what they know is a bunch of fucking lies and slander, spinning yarn and gossip, backbiting, false accusations, lies, all this stuff. That's what they really know, because they don't care to know anything. They don't care to know the truth, and they don't care to look any closer. They'd rather just have their...
Right. Which is why you do this kind of stuff with more of an insular community, which some of you will see behind the Hard R paywall. But you see what I'm saying? Like, you're kind of airing out your dirty laundry and you're like really talking about how you feel. Like, this will be used to attack you from people not on your side and from people on your side. Yeah, what an opportunity he had just to like go behind the paywall, dude. Just leave. My edited videos are, do we all understand? My edited videos are more for normies, right? Edgy normies, right? Then they come in, then the streams, a little more spicy. Then behind the paywall, very spicy, right? It's kind of like a radicalization pipeline, so to speak, you know? Make the general stuff for the general public, and they'll come in. And then ones that really like you and want to support you will become members. And then when they do, don't make them regret becoming members and keep them hooked. And then you can say more specific personal information there. Oh, man, he really, very lip coded.
Their knee-jerk reactions and run off with their little narrative, run around town and keep that shit going. So yeah, this community, 1 out of 10 on free speech. Fuck you guys. Except some of you are cool. You know who you are. But by and large, holy shit. And so you fucking progressives are out of your mind if you think that you're unsafe in a place like this. No, you're not. You're not unsafe in a place like this.
Scornful. That's very kosher of you, Artie. Yeah. Yeah, dude. Imagine if I implemented methods that have worked for 3,000 years on the right wing. Now imagine how frustrated I am when I see people on the right wing go, I should be able to say the N-word and Sperg, and I got a wife and kid, and now they're after me. Bro, if we've been studying the moose for long enough, I'm new to this shit from 6 months ago. And I'm like, damn, we got to be subversive like the left and the moose. You can't just go out there and say it. I guess that's a part of my frustration. I'm not taking it out on him. It's frustrating because of how much potential he has. And no one else is like him, you know? And so I really like content creators that are unique. Infinite Worlds, $5. Thank you very much. I like cocaine. Very nice. Shameless is a mini goat. Also nice. Will cherish the White Boy Summer t-shirt I got this past summer. Terrific. Absolutely excellent. People have forgotten about him. And I'm letting you know. Still exists. Going through it. Supporting him. Words, if not money words, really help him if you want to see more content by him. So find a way to let him know that you like his content a lot and that it helped you. That seems to really uplift him during his horrifically tough times. Testing, $5. Thank you very much. I'm amazed at how many white nationalist dissidents have been allowed on YouTube as of late. Yes, but it's only going to take one event for them to ban them all. Yes, exactly. We are on borrowed time, fellas. Yes, exactly. We must always be thinking, like the moose, steps ahead. We know we're not in power. So what can we do with the little bit of power that we're getting now? Now, there's a great chance that I'm fucked in like 2 or 3 years. There's a great chance that they're just going to dig all of this up and use it against me. So what am I going to do? Hit the ground running as quickly as humanly possible. Try to get as many people as possible. Not just get people, but get an actual community going, right? When things are said about me, have people that would go, that's not true, or you just develop something, people that are like that. This is why I really talk about fake engagement online. I have actual engagement. My engagement for my channel compared to my subscribers is disproportionate. I get really good engagement. These are real people, and they really enjoy the content. So do I try and siphon money out of them and go $10 tier, $25 tier, $50 tier, like a lot of other creators do? I could easily do that, but I don't at all, because it ain't about that. It's about getting people on board, understanding what I'm saying, and trying to make a landing pad for people that leave the left and leave being liberals. They go to Nick Fuentes' community. It's idolatry. And then, if you're not like right wing enough, they start like kicking you. No. Yeah. You just have to be here and understand what right wingers are saying. Okay. Get rid of racism, get rid of anti-Semitism. Just hang out, baby. Kick your shoes off. All right.
You can come out here and be trans and have your little, rainbow flags and your commie fucking politics, and you can have all this stuff and be fine. Yeah, maybe you get a little shitty look now and then, maybe if somebody's daring enough, they might call you a faggot or something like that. But that's about the extent of it. Are they going to try to burn your life down over it? Fuck no, So in a community like this, yeah, you could raise a pride flag if you want. You can raise a trans flag if you want. But, holy hell, let's say if I were to raise a swastika flag or something, I mean, it would be game over. It would be absolutely game over.
Right, but it's the year of our Lord, 2026, and this was in 2025 when this happened to you. We know that. We know the double standard. Hey, could you imagine instead of a white cop shooting a black guy, It was a black guy shooting, a black cop shooting a white guy. Could you imagine if the races were reversed? Yes, there is hypocrisy. There are double standards. Absolutely. That you need to just move past that and accept it. You have to accept it. It's reality. I feel like he's just really caught up in shoulds and oughts and what things ought to be. Sure, leave that for a private conversation, okay? We know we can't do the Newtsy flag. Yeah, it's a double standard. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. New GM, $5. Thank you so much. Nah, fam. I'm a bot. I'm a bot fam. 50% of my algo is buttery dopamine generator, and I hate it. Yeah. That buttery kippa. I don't know how it was born. I completely forget, but that's here to stay.
Just like it has been game over just to have my videos get some local exposure. So this whole idea that, you know, people out in areas like this are naturally sympathetic to people like me, it's just poppycock. It's complete bullshit. So don't buy it. I'm thoroughly disillusioned and disabused of that notion. All right. So they're not on my side. That's for sure. And I'm not on theirs. That's fine. You know, you guys have been some real bitches. You've been some bastards, some bitches, and some faggots for sure. And oh no, words you don't like, hurtful words. The shit I'm talking right now, the stuff I'm saying was like the locker.
Excellent question from chat. How new is this video on Sperg? December 26th.
Room banter of 20 years ago. And yet we just had to keep carrying on with our lives. And somehow you people just can't do it. So whatever. But I just wanted to address my audience and just sort of let you know where I'm at. I'm kind of just doing my own thing and sorting through stuff on my own terms, thinking through my thoughts. And
so what has to be going through his head is like when you make a video on YouTube and it gets like 100,000 views, then when you're making videos on Rumble and it is like 1,000th of what you were getting, it is very deflating, I imagine.
in trying to achieve some inner peace and stability again, you know, where I'm not just clutching for what feels safe and comfortable, just out of a flashpoint of crisis. And that is exactly what happened, is that this crisis, you know, it threw me into what I call a religious trauma cycle. The religious trauma cycle, it's
now, when I say lib-coded, I've never heard of a religious trauma cycle. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. Support the man. Want him to make content again. I accept him for who he is, okay? I've never heard of a religious trauma cycle, okay? If that's a thing, let me know.
got to do with some of the psychological traumas that came with really heavy indoctrination from the time I was young, and indoctrination that got multiplied exponentially in my teen years and throughout my 20s, reinforced and magnified exponentially by a lot of people that were around me. And it sort of just drove that complex further and further into my mind. And so anytime things would be in a real shakeup, the trauma cycle would reemerge. And my brain would go, you know, maybe God's punishing you. Maybe he's bringing everything down to put you in a state of desperation, to bring you to your knees as you finally do what he wants, and all this stuff. This is where my brain goes, or has gone. You know, historically, these episodes last for, you know, a long time. And this time it was rather brief. I just haven't really said anything about it because I needed to sort through some things, and I needed to know where I stand, what I'm doing, and where I'm going. So as far as that goes, I guess for me, not a lot has changed. You know, I've always kind of been on the more nature-based path.
Devin Stack was crushing it on YouTube before he left voluntarily. Devin Stack is a unique case. That man has like 28,000 followers on ODYSEE. That dude is in a league of his own. Now he voluntarily left and he brought people with him. That dude's a murderer, okay? That dude has an incredible following for not being on YouTube. They are dedicated. And he gets to do but he utilizes ODYSEE very well. He does really interesting, in-depth streams on things that you can't do on YouTube. So he's utilizing it really well. But yeah, I mean, you can't compare anyone to Devin Stack. Okay, that guy is a fucking league of his own.
That's my natural inclination. That's where I go to when I'm being real. You know, when I'm being actually true to myself, and when I'm actually listening to my own spirit, and following where I'm really being led. And that's where I go. The nature-based religion, the pagan religion, or whatever. That's where I go. That's where I've remained. And for years leading up to this whole situation, I didn't have any of those religious trauma episodes, any of those religious trauma cycles. None of that popped up.
Oh no! The last remembrancer for $5. My trauma cycle still has training wheels. Come on. Yeah, what am I? I'm not going to poke fun of that, right? being pretty balanced here, dude. Come on.
Because I guess nothing had been dramatic enough. There hadn't been upheaval substantial enough to bring me to a place of evoking that sort of pattern, that trauma cycle all over again. So you guys saw that in real time. You know, you saw it happening in real time, and I lost some friends, I lost some support, and that's okay. I was just being real. You know, I've always just wanted to be real. That's the whole point. Nothing less. And so that's what
An ounce of stoicism would bring you very, very far, right? I just want to be real. But do you understand what I mean? The function of a paywall and having this conversation to people that already agree with you. Like, this is going to be like bait for other people, I assume, you know? It's unfortunate, but time and place, for the love of God, please, time and place.
did. And maybe I was too real or too open, or maybe I should have shut up. And maybe I should have just processed all of it by myself. But the problem is that the stuff I was going through was going to end up affecting my messaging. It was going to end up affecting the direction I went in. And in order to be honest with myself and consistent with where I was standing, you know, I kind of had to catch my audience up and be like, here's where I'm at. And here's the effect that might have on my messaging, on my content.
So it does come off as effeminate, okay? Sure. And so is that the issue? He's not masculine enough, right? I think that's the issue, because he's like wishy-washy, doesn't know what to believe in, difficulty kind of controlling his emotions. More testosterone, a little more masculinity would like really help, right? Because I think that is going to be, because I mean, that's why I say lib coded. It's like, damn, dude, I gotta treat you like how I treat anybody else. I gotta comment on it. Da for $5. Thank you. Hard to believe this guy was going to church in good faith if he's still saying lib shit like Christmas is stolen from pagans. Nah, I think that's unfair. I see what you're saying. But he has been confused about religion his entire life. He's never had a place to like hang his hat religiously, right? He calls it a religious trauma cycle. A little more testosterone might go a very long way for homeboy. I want him to make content. I want him to make more content, okay? I want him to just employ a little bit of stoicism. I don't know how else to say this.
So rather than just keeping up an act and violating my own conscience through dishonesty, I just had to put it out there. And I did so with no small measure of trepidation. And again, it was not very well received by a lot.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just have to be fair. We have Torch of Wyatt. Wait, he's not a lib. I got here late. I only kind of know what we're talking about. So sounds like a lib coded. I was correct in saying that. It's unfortunate. I don't want to, man. Come on. I'm busting his balls like he's a fucking bro, okay?
A lot of people, and that's okay. And there's some people that are probably never going to talk to me again. Well, that's all right. Farewell. There was one person in particular. Let's just call her a 156, okay? And we.
Oh boy. So he's about to talk about a woman that he knew for 4 years online that stopped talking to him. And it's unfortunate. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. It might be a little too much female energy. Sorry, dude. I like you.
Been friends for a few years. And well, she took this all very personally, let's say. My swing back to Christianity, back to old time religion. She took it very, very personally, as a very personal affront, as a sort of betrayal, in a sense. And I certainly didn't mean it that way. I understood where she was coming from, but that's not where my heart was at. Okay. It wasn't a sense of betrayal. It was just me trying to respond and react to where I found myself. And, you know, unfortunately that means I've probably lost a good friendship with this person. So hello, 156. I hope you're doing well. And I know you very well may never talk to me again, and that's okay. It's fine. I still wish you well. All right. But you of all people would understand from our extensive.
Oh no. He's bummed their trauma cycles got synced. Oh no. Fellas, we have to call balls and strikes. Okay. We can support someone. All right. But what can we do as a fella community? Right.
Discussions that you had also dealt with religious trauma cycles. You had also dealt with kind of swinging back and forth between two worlds a lot. And in fact, in our discussions, it made it clear to me that you understood this better than anyone that I had ever known. And so when this happened, my hope was that you would be able to kind of reflect back on some of what we discussed and reflect back on some of your own history and your own experiences. And that you would maybe be a little slower to completely cut me off, right? I'm not upset with you or offended.
Oh, that's rough. Okay. Fellas, We'll focus more on his paganism arc, but Daddy has to rip a heater real quick, so I'll be back in 5 minutes. I know it is getting rough, but the next one is less feelsy. The next one is more so about his, the justification for how can he follow Christianity when it's not having the backs of the whites? And then the argument is that Christianity has been infiltrated. But yeah, less than a month old. The guy already has 13,000 subscribers. He is the Shameless Sperg, and he talks about white racial consciousness, and I can see why he's pretty popular. Now, some people might think he's a nudesy, the dreaded white N-word, and I'm going to tell you here and now, even if he is, I don't care at all whatsoever. Did I clear the room? Are there people still here? Okay, let me clear the room even more. I'm a liberal. You're a cuck. Atheist.
Smite.
Cat. Oh, bless his heart. Okay, now I think I'm alone. It's just me and the cat. Civic nationalist. Oh, the purebred's mad. I've seen his mom. She's not 100% Maltese. She got some eggplant in her. Anyways, white racial consciousness is a good thing. White racial consciousness is a necessary thing. It is a real thing. It needs to be addressed. There are legitimate grievances. There is legitimate discrimination. And as a liberal, I have a fairness principle, I advocate for marginalized communities, man? And to me, this is a human rights issue. I mean, what do you call it when government colludes with private entities to suppress a race of people? Is there a word for that? Anyways, so let's get into it. I could make this video 10 hours. I have to stop myself because I've wanted to talk about these things for so long. So however long this video is just going to be a blip of what's there. And if you want to listen to a lot of what's being said, just go to this guy's channel. Let's get into it.
I'm done. And I used to care. My mother raised me to care. She's a good woman. She raised me to care. She raised me with these, color. She raised me in the church. She meant well. She didn't pass racial consciousness on to me. I was forced into racial consciousness because after a lifetime of being pretty good, pretty decent, you just come up and sucker punch me from behind and tell me that, I deserve to die and that all white people be racist and shit. And that was that. I didn't think in very racial terms before. I didn't really think in terms of white identity. But you didn't give me a choice. I was informed of my white identity, and the only choices given were I can either be guilty and grovel and just go along with whatever you want to say and do, or else I'm a bigot and a racist and you don't want to be that, or I could be proud and say, "Fuck it, I'm not doing this." And so I went with the proud route on that. I mean, why wouldn't I?
Now, an annoying liberal or leftist could call this a false dichotomy fallacy. There's more than two options. And that's what I would have said like a decade ago. I didn't feel like there was only two options. But I understand what he's saying. It's kill or be killed. It's not who he is, it's what he became. He has come to an unbelievably reasonable and logical conclusion for his epistemology. He's been surrounded by a race of people that are allowed to be proud of their race, while he's been made to feel guilty about his own race, when it's objectively the best race of people to ever exist. What reasonably leads to his perspective is the fact that he, myself, and white people in the West are marginalized. You want to know how much of a psyop racism is? Take a moment. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to think about what you think the word marginalized means when referring to marginalized people. Did you think it had anything to do with the minority population? Because it doesn't. The syntax of the word is derived from not the amount of people, but the lack of attention a certain people get for their grievances, which leads them to create an outgroup. To marginalize someone or group means to make them feel unimportant or isolate them, pushing them to the fringes of society or a specific group. It includes excluding them from mainstream social, economic, or political life. So they beat the word marginalized to death by saying marginalized communities, even though those communities were being called marginalized when they were the most focused on in the entire country. They used up the social capital of that word so you couldn't apply it to white people where it actually 100% applies. So that's a psyop. But I'm going to keep talking, so I need to shut up and let the man cook.
Look at my history. I don't care if it hurts your feelings. I don't care that there are things that were said and done in the history of my people that hurt your feelings. I come from a people that accomplished and invented and conquered and built amazing things. Unbelievable things that have changed the course of human history many times over. And you have nothing to compare to that. Nothing. And I'm supposed to sit here and still take you people seriously. I can't take you seriously. And everybody's just pretending to. Everybody's just been pretending to. Because it feels good to pretend to. It's socially fashionable to pretend to. It's sometimes career suicide to not go along and play pretend for you. But they're playing pretend. They don't take you seriously. Nor should they. They shouldn't take you seriously. They shouldn't take your butchery of the English language, Ebonics, seriously. No one should. It's not African American English. It's nonsense. It is a bastardization and a butchery of the English language, and I'm not going to take it seriously.
Ebonics.
Talking about something known as AAVE, African American Vernacular English, or in other words, a dialect spoken by African American communities. Lucy Craft Laney elementary educators are not just embracing it, they are opening up a sensitive conversation about the power of language, as they believe addressing and honoring dialect just might be another key to their students' success. Here's Lindsay Siebert and Ben Garvin with the next chapter in our Lessons from Lucy's series.
African American Vernacular English.
Oh, I should get this right because we just heard the word vernacular.
Does it mean like how African Americans speak in like acts or which you
This is hilarious.
or something like that?
Behind every laugh is a cry. So like that has bothered me for so long. I've known about this for a while. About how all right. Now see how this goes. We have an issue with being a little too effeminate, okay? I support this man. This criticism and poking fun is constructive criticism that may happen. Hopefully, it doesn't occur. But I in the same way that when he goes to church and they're talking about a black guy and he's got these jokes in his head that he can't control, well, we have the same type of autism, Shameless Sperg. So I support you. If people buy me a coffee is in the description. The man is going through some stuff. Here we go. This is his why he keeps going back to paganism and not Christianity.
Hi, folks. I'm the Shameless Sperg. I hope you're doing well today. So this morning, I was just kind of reflecting on some things. Like I said in my last video, I'd had kind of a brief swing back to Christianity, old-time religion, sort of reaching for a sense of comfort, normalcy, something that felt secure and bolted down. Because, I had been raised Christian, and it was a huge part of my life. I was very, very indoctrinated. And, sometimes during periods of drastic upheaval, I have found myself kind of swinging back that way. Again, clutching for comfort, clutching for some perceived stability, even if it was kind of an illusion.
This is what I've said to Fist about Christianity. I'm like, my life is going so well right now. Like, this is what I'm saying. Something bad would have to happen to me for me to like need some help. Like, I understand it's frustrating that I'm an atheist, right? But like, I understand what he's saying here. Like, things are really, really tough. And so you look for something outside of yourself for help. So, hope for something. If you want me to follow Christ, hope for something horrific to happen to me. Okay.
And, each return back, because there's been a few over the years, they've gotten shorter and shorter, because in the meanwhile, I've learned a lot of things. I've noticed a lot of things. that kind of make it impossible for me to resume, just like everything's normal again. You know, once the smoke clears, the fog clears, the dust settles, I start to realize, like, no, dude, you know, all of the criticisms that you had still apply. You know, all of the issues that you had with this still apply. And so I was just sitting, sort of reflecting on some of the conversations that came up during some Bible studies, because, you know, I was going to Sunday morning, and then I was going with my wife to Bible studies, and you know, and the people are wonderful. They're very kind. They're
what?
Unpack something that starts to go down like kind of political path, a racial path. Like, this is not the direction people want to take things in this Bible study, and I'm not here to throw a wrench in the whole thing. I don't want to cause problems for people. Nevertheless, you know, I have.
Yeah, if you can't give him money, just find a way to contact him somewhere, and let him know that you like his content and you're there for him. That seems to really help him a lot.
My own thoughts and feelings about things, and particularly when I have insights that could really offer some context and perspective. So that's what I'm here to do this morning. I wanted to discuss something. So I kind of wrote some notes down this morning just to make sure I captured my thoughts. I didn't know whether I'd, you know, make a video about them or not, but I wanted to put my thoughts down. But I did decide to go ahead and make a recording. So here's the note that I prepared. Christians don't understand how we became a less generous, low trust society, and why so many of us are disinclined towards charity and tax subsidies. They come to all kinds of wrong conclusions, okay? And they will forever.
Now, Jesus, fellas, okay? We are approaching this as salesmen, okay? He is giving you the sales objection. Keep that in mind. These are sales objections.
Spin their tires in the mud because of it. So the reason why they can't acknowledge that diversity destroys these things. No, you don't want to pay for Shaniqua's food stamps. I know you don't. Neither do I. Especially when she's going to turn around and sell them for money, or turn around and just buy endless soda for Tyrone and all that stuff. Like, we're not interested in doing that. But, you know, so with Christians, they can't acknowledge that diversity destroys these things, any motivation for these types of things, charity and tax subsidies, because they can't acknowledge that we are different and we're not interchangeable. They do not understand that the dividing lines between peoples isn't whether one group believes in their religion and one group doesn't. The differences are many, notably racial. When we don't feel like we were part of a greater family with shared ancestry, shared traditions, shared values, and a common sense of destiny, Christians will never form a sensible conclusion about these things because their blind universalism won't let them. It would, after all, be unchristian, and it certainly would. Diversity erodes both a sense of social trust and cohesion, but also a sense of investment in one another. Just like one has an affinity for one's family over another family, one naturally has an affinity for their broader family, that is, their race and nation, than for others, whether they realize it or not. It's instinctual, it bears out in reality, and things like being less inclined towards charity and tax subsidies is completely understandable in this environment. People are not necessarily conscious of why they're disinclined to do these things, but I know exactly why. It's because diversity erodes all of this shit.
Well, it's the moose. It's not like this organically happened, right? Like, you can have some diversity, right? I understand the desire for racial purity. I understand it. But we have been, even amongst other white people, been made to be divided, right? Let's not remove the manufactured aspect of this Hart-Celler Act. I'm pretty sure I learned about the Hart-Celler Act from him in the video that I made, by the way. That's how new your boy is to this game, all right? But there's still a part of me that's always been this way. But we've been made to be this way inorganically. That's usually my pushback with that. Now, there is truth to what he's saying, but it's not totalizing.
You know, importing foreigners with no ties to their nation and race, history, ancestry, culture, values, or sense of destiny is about the worst thing you could ever do if you genuinely want social cohesion and a sort of mutual understanding. But sitting among Christians, I have to pretend not to know or understand these obvious facts. So all kinds of conversations came up about generosity and caring for others and all of this stuff. And, you know, why have these things taken such a hit? And why are we so reluctant to, you know, help others out? We're supposed to take care of the sick and the needy and the no. I know. But it's like, and they'll point back to a time in this country where people really had each other's back. Well, I remember back in the day, you know, and if somebody needed a repair, everybody in the neighborhood showed up and blah, 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 blah. It's like they don't understand what's happened. And they're always grasping for the reason why. And they're trying to do so through a sort of Christian universalistic lens. But the problem is, as is so often the problem, like when people think of a time when America was great, for example, it's like they don't realize or associate the people that were there with the conditions that were there. You know, when we look back to these times of greater social trust,
this is the criticism that me and Fist make all the time. We're like, who do you think like created liberalism? Who do you think it was created for? So I understand this point.
cohesion, helping each other out, so on and so forth, the demographics were completely different. And we're supposed to just pretend like none of that's relevant. You know, when we're discussing these issues among Christians.
Well, no, I mean, on this channel, we don't do that, right? Like it's kind of like black and white thinking. It's not all or nothing. There's a shift that happens and then a nudge that happens, right? It happens over time. If you give somebody all of this stuff up front, it can be a lot to take in. However, on stream, we can give you guys a lot more information up front because we're watching a video of it actually happening in real time. There's strategies for this. The man has the heart. We're missing the strategy.
Generally speaking, you just have to pretend not to know these things. You have to pretend not to understand these things. So we have to constantly try to couch it in religious terms or biblical terms or whatever. Meanwhile, the glaring and obvious truth is that, dude, we've been too diversified. People tend not to care as much about each other. People tend not to trust each other as much. Can you possibly understand why? Do you think I feel like subsidizing Shaniqua, who's going to turn around and tell me how privileged I am and how I need a racial reckoning and all this shit? Do you think I care to pay the hospital bills of a bunch of third world foreign imports that have no connection to me, my history, my family, my nation, culture, values, traditions?
We all agree with you. Yeah, that's frustrating. Definitely. Yeah, it's hard to accept. Couldn't agree more.
None of it. And we don't even share a sense of where we're going, right? It's each group out for their own. Because that's what happens. If you have multiracial, multicultural diversity, there can't be that type of cohesion. No matter how much you want there to be, there can't be. Because it's...
JLM Knight for $5. Thank you. Man, even John Wick wouldn't be able to get this kind of info out of me. This guy is too innocent or autistic. Yes. This is the constructive criticism, okay? He is friend. He is good guy. He does bear good fruit, right? We're a little emotional, right? We're a little emotional. That could hopefully be worked on, you know?
Completely unnatural. It violates nature in every level. And again, like I said, a lot of people aren't consciously aware of what's going on, but their instincts, right, are leading them away from that sense of cohesion, trust, and investment in one another. Do you honestly feel just as invested in people of another race or culture as your own? No, you don't. Don't lie. You can lie to yourself. You can lie to others, but I know the truth. You don't. You absolutely don't. It's instinct. It's instinct to want to stick with your own. It's instinct to feel more motivated to help and to be able to trust.
So for me, that hasn't been an instinct because of how I was brought up. But I understand why that wasn't an instinct for me, because that just wasn't allowed or encouraged. In fact, the opposite was encouraged. In fact, I was proud to talk about how many non-white people I knew, right? But that's what I'm saying. It wasn't organic. It was manufactured. I was supposed to be that way. That was a feature, not a bug. And I accept that. And don't get me wrong, it's really distressing to realize my entire life was a lie. Not fun. Not a fun thought. Frustration, depression, sure. I understand all of that, definitely. I just came to that conclusion of less than a year ago. I get it, all right? But John Wick couldn't get this information out of me. It's going to stick in my head.
One another, particularly in a white society, right? Because everybody harkens back to a time, well, I didn't even used to lock my doors or whatever, and I don't even know what's changed. What do you mean you don't fucking know what's changed? I do. It's really obvious. We're not even the same anymore. We're not the same people. It's not just some magic force field where things changed. No, the actual populace changed. The demographics changed. The actual people changed.
This is interesting. So testing over here was never a liberal, so I guess it never evolved. Well, what were you if you weren't a liberal? And how was that? How did that happen? Because I was, born and raised in Massachusetts, so obviously not everybody has that same commie, liberal, moo enforcement on their upbringing. So I'm curious about that.
And we're not all interchangeable. And that's the thing that Christianity cannot let you reckon with. They cannot let you reckon with our differences and the implications of those differences.
Here's the sales objection, fellas. Okay. Think of your response from scripture, if you have access to it, or your justification to get around this objection.
We're supposed to pretend that really the only dividing line is whether somebody has accepted the gospel or hasn't. That's not the only dividing line, but they pretend it is. And that is just not any way to govern a society. It's not any way to run it.
Yeah, here's the weird thing. My parents weren't like liberal or anything. So testing said, apparently I've always been a conservative, a family that was conservative, a dad that was racist. Yeah. My dad, I watched my dad. We had a black fella in the neighborhood. I think he was 15 at the time. I may have been like 10 at the time. And he was playing basketball with his friends, and with me in the car, he was like, "Hey, N-word. Hey, you fucking N-word." As a joke, because he knew him and they were cool with each other. And he did it as a goof. That's where I come from. So liberal, I mean societally, not from my parents.
A nation. It's not any way to construct immigration policy. It's complete madness. It is national suicide, and you throw everything away for this social experiment. You know, you take from the prosperity and opportunities of your children and future generations in the name of doing good, but it's not doing good. It's completely unfair, and it's evil actually for you to do these things in the name of righteousness when the ones who really have to pay are the younger generations. You know, I hear this kind of shit out of a lot of people who had the.
Would this conversation go better if he like came on stream with us and talked about this? He sounds like he needs someone to talk to that understands. Like, yeah, dude, we get it. Yeah, I'm right there with you. But like, there's ways to like, you know, locker room talk, pal around about it. You know, it is that deep and it is that serious. But if it gets to you to this point, it no longer, it gets in the way of your efficacy if you let it bring you down this much, you know?
Benefit of growing up in a very white nation, you know, 90% plus white. And that was just the situation. They grew up in that and they have failed to appreciate it. And they sit here and wonder, why have things changed so much? Well, I don't fucking know. Why don't you look around, huh? We went from like 90% white to, I don't know, where are we at now? 60 some odd percent maybe. And obviously it varies from locality to locality. There are some places where when you're white, you'll find yourself an absolute minority, and other places where you're in a clear super majority. I live in an area that's very strongly majority white. That's why I came. Well, it's part of why I also wanted to get away from this.
Are they spiritually white though? What kind of whites are they? It is reductive to go, well, I'm around white people, you know? When I go to white people in New Hampshire and I'm going camping, they leave logs on the side of the road with a tin can for you to put in money and take the logs and walk away, okay? Really depends on the type.
City in general. I like nature. I don't like buildings everywhere. I don't like too much noise and commotion. I like to be out in the country. I like that. But the whiteness is part of it. I'm not going to lie. So obviously it varies based on where you are. But the overall picture is our demographics are completely different now. And so we're a bunch of squabbling, warring factions of racial groups and cultures and all of this stuff. Of course, things are not going to be the same. Of course, things are going to change. You can't change things that much. You can't change demography that much and just swap people out and expect the same results. It is complete fucking madness. But, you know, the longer that you refuse to acknowledge these things because your beliefs won't let you, I mean, you're just going to keep spinning your tires in the mud. You're going to keep rehashing the same, you know, Sermon on the Mount stuff. Like we're supposed to just apply that to anyone and everyone at all times and places. And it's just nonsense. It doesn't work. It's an unrealistic and unfair expectation. And again, like I said, in the name of some sort of religious virtue, you take opportunities and prosperity and safety. You take these things away from future generations and you trade them in the name of some sort of egalitarian, universalistic pipe dream. That is exactly what you're doing. And you don't want to acknowledge it. You can only think how righteous it is. You know, oh, you know, so much progress. We're so much better.
I feel like we cover this on stream, but like we have fun with it, you know? Like he's got the like soul sapped out of him, you know? Like, yeah, man, I just want to like give him a hug. I'm like, dude. I guess that's what it is. Like, I really, really empathize with his frustration, even though I'm not, you know, a race realist, so to speak. I've discussed that behind the paywall. And we had a great conversation about it. It was uplifting. And, you know, we're figuring these things out. We're trying to all get on the same page. Who does he have to talk to, you know? I don't know if he wants to talk to me after I've kind of made fun of him, but like, fuck, dude. Come on. Like, you got a great thing that you can do. And it just seems like you have some emotional hangups. I don't know how to say this not like that. Come on, man. Get in the game, dude. We need you out here.
Better than we used to be. Are we? So, you know, oftentimes you'll hear, for example, leftists will, you know, criticize people that have a vision of making America great again. Like, let's set aside MAGA per se as a movement and deal with the idea of making America great again. People oftentimes have a picture in their minds of what a great America was like, you know, between the aesthetic of it to just sort of the values, to the prosperity, to the hardworking nature, the grit, the determination, you know, the pride in American freedom, American values.
Yes. Thank you, Parkour Reed. He's just demoralized. This is why I made my YouTube channel, because once I realized, you know, from the anti-communist shit and whatnot, and Yuri Bezmenov in Demoralization, I realized that, like, oh, they're trying to demoralize us. Now, I don't have a prescription like God to believe in, so I had to develop a combative negative identity. By a negative identity, anti-communist, okay? Anti-moo. So what can I do? I know how they want me to feel, and I fucking refuse to feel how they want me to fucking feel. Oh, you can hear it. Oh, I hope you can feel it. The last thing I'm going to fucking do is feel how they want me to fucking feel, and I try and spread that like wildfire. So I can catch shit for saying liberal, civic nationalist, atheist, and all that shit right now, and in general. But you can feel how I refuse to feel bad because that's what these motherfuckers want. And he is demoralized. And this is what happens when you are demoralized. And this is why they want to demoralize you. It's hard to think clearly. It increases your cortisol levels. Fellas, all I want to do is lower your cortisol levels. Lower that stress hormone so you can think clearly. Enjoy life. Testing for $2. Here, have 2 shekels. Ooh, 2 Shideki Matsuis over there. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
That's gone completely away. And so, they're harkening back to a time when it was like that. They want that American greatness that they remember. But it's like they have this blind spot, right? And it's like leftists don't actually have this blind spot about it, because when they see people wanting this, great America again, the leftist correctly perceives, oh, you mean a white America? And then, the MAGA guy, I don't care about race, brother. It ain't about race. Are you fucking sure about that? Are you sure about that? What do you base that on? Okay, what do you base this on? Because the founders wanted a white nation. They made that extremely clear.
Yeah.
The Naturalization Act of 1790 outlined exactly who was fit for consideration to immigrate to this country and become a naturalized citizen. They were extremely stringent in those standards, and they did so for a very obvious reason.
Yeah.
And we kept that policy for, I don't know, nearly 200 years, until the mid.
Well, like I've said this, like how many races do they know about? How many ethnicities did the founding fathers know about? Or these fathers of liberalism? Like, did they even know about Vietnamese people? Did they know about like Papua New Guineans? Like, obviously it was made for mostly white people, and they were like, oh, well, maybe not all white, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't there. But yeah, it was, if you're surrounded by white people and you're having these conclusions about freedom and universalism, one would assume, especially when blacks are slaves, that you really mean white people, pretty easy jump to make.
60s, when we were sold a lie with the Hart-Celler Immigration Act, where, now we weren't just opening the door to Europeans, now we were going to open it up to all manner of other nations, racial groups, cultures, and all this stuff. And the lie that was sold was, don't worry, this won't change your demographics. That was the lie that was sold in order to get us to embrace this change to immigration policy, where we started to allow in people from other countries outside of Europe, right? And so here we are. Like I said, at first they sold it to us, this won't change your demographics, this will not reduce your population share. And, everybody was like, well, okay, all right. Skip ahead all these years later, that was just the mid-60s. Here we are, it's 2026 now. And we're supposed to pretend like the promise of altering our demographics, that promise never was made. And we're supposed to pretend all of this is normal, and that, opening the floodgates to people from all these other countries, like that's just totally normal. And now you're not even allowed to dislike this arrangement. Now you're not even allowed to look back and go, wow, that really fucked us over, because that would be racist and it would be unchristian, wouldn't it?
So this is why I say lib-coded. He's really caught up in how it's unfair, right? Yeah, it is unfair. So like, what are we going to do about it? Like Yup, don't agree with it. Very unfair. Don't agree with it, okay? But like, it just seems like there's not a utility happening with him acknowledging these things to himself and in public, What is the function of this? It seems like it's just bumming you out. So you might want to think about like other stuff if this isn't like not fruitful and conducive to your life in an overall way.
It would be very unchristian of me to insist that our earlier policy was better. I know you people think that you know better than the founders or something. You're more enlightened. You're not. Okay. These men were far more educated. They were far more intelligent. They were far more insightful than, nearly anyone living today. I'm not saying that they were right about every damn thing, but they were pretty perceptive. They knew history. They understood race. They understood culture. They understood what it would take to have a successful republic. And they also believed that this constitution that was enshrined was only fit for the governance.
This is honestly a motivation for me making content where I would hear these things, but they weren't like fun. And you might think, well, how do you make it fun? Well, you have to, right? Once you have a consequentialist attitude, in the way of, I know they want me to feel this way, and I know what I'm not going to do. I know I'm not going to feel that way. Then from there, you explore how you're going to feel, right? Me, I take the exact opposite, negate the negation, so to speak. And so I just want to, dude, like, I don't think he realizes how the right wing is allowed to be on YouTube again and the like opportunity in front of him, right? So I wanted to make content to be like, these things definitely need to be talked about. Yes, they need to be talked about, but it has to be uplifting. It has to be entertaining. It can't be demoralizing. And what I was seeing with a lot of like right-wing racialist, white people, white collectivist content, it's not fun. I mean, that's why Nick Fuentes does so well, because he makes it fun, but he's like more duplicitous than I would like to be. I don't want to be duplicitous at all. I like to be like completely consistent in what I'm saying, which is why I give myself very easy, goals to hit of being if I'm a bad atheist, that's great. If I'm a shitty civic nationalist, that's great. If I'm a shitty liberal, that's great. If I suck at those things, it only leads to a good thing. I don't want to set myself up to fail. But the issue is when you're being a content creator and people are like listening to you and liking what you say, they don't want you to go back on anything. There's nothing for me to go back on. It's only fucking forward and more of the right wing from here. And it can be hard to have fun when you have these crushing realizations, but I've experienced a ton of depression and anxiety from realizing these things. And I'm like, damn, I know there's motherfuckers out there that are feeling the same way, and I don't want them to feel that way. This is really, all of my content is fueled by men's mental health, to keep it short. Parkour Reed, $5. Thank you very much. It's not about what's fair. It's about what is right. And what is right is having America for Americans and Europe for Europeans. Terrific. See how we can shift that energy into a positive, forward-moving direction. Couldn't agree more. And here's the thing, exactly. Like, the white collectivists, yes, they also want segregation among whites. They want Italy to be Italian. But the thing is that we're mutts in the United States. So it gets a little complicated. And hey, rebuilding a white identity in the United States with all the mooetry that's been going on for a century in the country, gonna be a little cringe sometimes. Hey, the return to the land guys, it might look a little bit cringe sometimes. When do you ever hear me talk shit about the return to the land guys? Is it a little like weird and odd? Sure, but they're like building something from the ground up, so it's gonna be a little awkward and cringe and weird sometimes. But like, if you believe in this project, like with Nick Fuentes, like, don't shit talk them, send people their fucking way. I'm giving him shit right now, and I have his fucking buy me a coffee in my fucking description, okay? There's a way to do this.
Of a very certain people group, which they outlined in the Naturalization Act. Changing that, you see, they wouldn't have enshrined the Constitution as we know it over the demographics we have today. They absolutely would not have done that. Even if they wanted to, what they would first do is clean house a little bit. And they would make sure that they were enshrining this Constitution for a particular people. And they knew that very well. And that was white persons of good moral character. That's what the Naturalization Act of 1790 talked about. That was ratified before even the Bill of Rights. And just to give you an example of how important to them was this idea of getting the demographics right. And now, all these years later, you're supposed to be ashamed and you're just a terrible, evil person if you think that the founders had it right on that. If you agree with them on that. Because now you're just like obligated to not agree with them. You're obligated to pretend to know better. You're obligated to pretend that they were just all around rotten, no good, stupid, backwards people. And they weren't. They weren't. And they were right about this. And I'm allowed to agree with them. And I'm not going to, fall under this social.
You see, it's that verbiage, and I'm allowed to agree with them. Who are you talking to? Like, he's talking to a manifestation of negative voices within his own psyche. And I'm allowed to say that. Yeah, you are allowed to say that, which we know. Yeah, man, it's okay. Like, start trashing him, bro.
Pressure where I have to disagree with them, that I'm like indebted or obligated to disagree with them and think that I know better. No. So I agree with him. I thought that it was good policy. And honestly, maybe it wasn't even stringent enough, right? Maybe it wasn't even stringent enough. But at any rate, they had a good thing going. We had a good thing going, okay? And they were intelligent, and they knew that this republic that they were forming was just not adequate to the governance of any other people than the ones that it was designed for. They said, for us and our posterity. Posterity doesn't mean just anybody that feels like an American or feels like coming to America. Anybody that just washes up on the shore with their hand out. People ignore that, and instead they treat the poem on the Statue of Liberty like it was our Naturalization Act. That Jewish poem about give me you're tired and you're poor and you're useless and all that stuff. Yeah, they act like that is some sort of
yeah, it's a moo poem for the express purpose. Like, this is always going to be funny to me, where the Civil Rights Act passed and they were at the point of a gun forcing white people to integrate with black people. And then the next year they were like, and let's get rid of the European immigration and invite everybody from all over the world. Like, yeah, do you really think that was organic? Do you really think that was the best idea? Obviously a feature, not a bug.
legally binding founding document, and it's not. It was just a shitty poem on a statue. That's it. It has nothing to do with immigration policy. Has nothing to do with the vision of this nation. That was one Jewess's vision for this nation, and it was not the founders' vision for this nation. And so I'm not going to feel bad because I agree with the founders on it. I'm not going to be told that I'm stupid and backwards for it. Even if that's what you think, I don't fucking care. They were right. All right. And all the cautionary words that they had around this kind of arrangement have come to pass. They would look around and be like, what did you do? We tried to give you a good thing. What did you do? And and I'm supposed to just sit and pretend to not know this stuff. When you have conversations with people in like a Bible study or at church, and we're talking about all the problems of race and talking about all the problems of broken social cohesion and a lack of generosity and a lack of helping each other out. And, I'm supposed to just pretend that it's just spiritual or something, like just some spiritual thing is just washed over the land. No. Have people, lost the connection to spirituality? A lot of them. Yeah, sure. But that's not like the actual heart of this issue. The actual heart of this issue is one of instinct. It's one of feeling invested in each other. And when you've gone and replaced us with other people, we cease to trust each other and we cease to feel invested in each other. It's that simple. It really is. But again, like I said, you're supposed to just sit there and pretend to not know or understand these things, for the sake of a Bible study. And so I kept my mouth shut. I bit my tongue, and I didn't say these things because I know that it's not going to be welcome.
So we understand the frustration going to church, preaching a universalist message, right? As he's witnessing people getting stabbed, a white woman getting stabbed by a black feller, hard R feller, on the subway, all these things that we see, all the black on white violence, right? How is that rectified with Christianity? Sales objection.
I know that it's going to be dismissed out of hand because the universalism of Christianity demands that it be dismissed out of hand. And so why provoke a fight? Why make things awkward? Why sit there and disturb the peace of their Bible study with this knowledge and understanding that I have? And so I've decided instead, hey, just make a video about it. I'm sure some of them will see it. Yes, these are my honest thoughts. And no, I didn't want to upset Bible study with it, but I can't pretend not to know, not to understand how we've gotten to this point, and that we're not.
Well, you knew some of them were going to see it, right? Now, it doesn't seem like he predicts the reaction to what is being said and who is here. He doesn't seem to care about the reaction and suffers greatly for it. And I don't want to see him suffer. Do we want to see him like this, right? A fella down on his luck, getting beat down like this. Do you want your boy to sound like this? No. Do you have to bust his balls to get him back on the fucking horse? Absolutely. Testing for $2. He sounds like a broken man. Not one with solutions. And that's what's tough. That's where it kind of just feels like bitching at a certain point, right? Yeah, man. Fucking people want to listen to you. And it's a great responsibility, right? And he couldn't have predicted this would happen. But okay. One of my greatest white traits, okay? If I'm going to pride myself on something, I guess two things. Me being white, a great representation of me being white, for as milquetoast and not a race realist as I am, would have to be my adaptability. Whites fucking adapt, okay? My adaptability and my inventiveness, right? Creative problem solving. That's kind of what this channel is, right? There's a problem. There has to be a solution somewhere. Inventiveness and adaptability. Those are my white contributions.
Not all interchangeable units, okay? Just because you believe that there's neither Jew nor Greek doesn't mean that I do. And it doesn't mean, or at any rate, whatever that meant, I don't believe it means what you seem to be suggesting it does, which is that now we've just become interchangeable, swappable people groups, that none of it matters. Meanwhile, that same passage would go on to say that there is neither male nor female. And yet, curiously, you really, really affirm the idea of differences between male and female. It's just the ethnic part where we're supposed to pretend there's no differences, apparently. And I'm not gonna pretend, right? I can't play pretend at that. And so these are my honest thoughts. This is a criticism I've had for Christianity for a very long time, and I wasn't really thinking about it much until recently, you know. And one of those times, like I said, back in church, you know, visiting a Bible study, hearing enough conversations, and I just realized, like, wow, yeah, no, that's always been a problem. And again, like I said in my recent video, talking about, you know, we need to pray for Nigerians or whatever. They're being persecuted, and like that sucks and everything, but I don't give a fuck about Nigerians. I don't care, man. I really don't care. I don't have some like bloodthirsty hostility for them or anything, but like I don't.
Now, there is a fascinating duality happening here where he's like a hyper individualist, but where is this white collective that he's a part of, right? So it's having these white collectivist feelings, but also he seems to be like a hyper individualist. There seems to be two wolves in this boy.
I don't feel invested in them, and a lot of people don't either. Whether they admit it or not, they don't. And why should they? What's the point? Do they care about what's going on with us? You know, just because we have more material prosperity, well, doesn't mean that we don't have problems. Do they care about our problems? I don't think so. And when any of them wash up on our shore, what do? They end up joining.
Carlos Coba. Well, sorry, I'm a linguistic Sperg. All linguistic Spergs are welcome.
In the chorus of like BLM and leftists, and they join together in shaming us as colonialists or whatever. So that's another thing. Like, you know, I'm told to care about people groups who I know when they come here, join with a bunch of commies and join with the Antifa and join with BLM and just join the whole left-wing multiracial polyglot and start attacking us, you know? And so that doesn't exactly motivate me to care, whether about them or their folks back home. Because when I see it play out, and I'm like, yeah, but you guys don't fucking care about us, you know? And I'm supposed to accept that you don't care about us because I guess somehow you have it worse off than us. Oh, by the way, how did that happen? How come you guys didn't do anything with that country? How come I have to keep caring about places where, you know, you have a homeland, you guys have your own homeland, and in fact, you have demographic supermajority, homogeneity, you have these things, and yet you can't do anything with your country, and that's supposed to be my problem? I'm supposed to feel bad for you? No. Particularly when you really don't care what's happening, you know, to us, to my people. You don't care. You don't care about demographic replacement. You don't care about any of that shit. You just see us as colonialists, but you don't mind asking us for help at the same time. And I tire of it, and so I stopped caring. I mean, why am I supposed to care? And particularly when a lot of people here, like they're Christian, they don't care about our problems. No, it's the telescopic philanthropy of look at these sad Nigerians or whatever. Yeah, well, what about fucking here? You know, what about the fact that like black on white crime, black on white violence is completely out of control, and it's gotten more savage and it's gotten more random. And there's so much like resentment and a feeling of just like, well, I'm killing you because, you know, some inequity or fucking whatever. You know, like that Ukrainian girl that was stabbed to death. Irina Zarutska, who was stabbed to death on a train randomly, you know, by this monkey savage.
Now, he said the word monkey and he said the word savage, right? Now, I edited that out and I blurred this. Did I have to do that? No, just a precaution. Sawyer for $10. Thank you so much. Found you through Benjamin Boyce. Love the stream. Christ is Lord and God bless. Any chance you'd ever do guest streams? I have dabbled, but I don't outsource anything in my channel, and I do absolutely everything in my channel. And so it doesn't always occur to me to do them. It's kind of like this stream tonight. I didn't tell anybody until 2 hours before. So yes, depends on the guest, I suppose. Good question. Thank you.
I don't hear any of them talking about that. You know, I'll hear about Nigerians until they're blue in the face, but is anybody talking about, you know, the extreme amount of black on white violence? No. So who's supposed to care then? Who's supposed to talk about it? And so since you guys aren't going to, I have to. And if I'm talking about that, well, I'm not going to talk about your bullshit because we don't have enough voices talking about this. We don't have enough voices pointing out the obvious problems going on here. And so I have to do it. And I have to narrow my focus. I can't be expected to care about my people when, you know, our future is looking kind of bleak, and also care about all these other people simultaneously. I'm just human, man. And I have to care about the things that really weigh on my heart genuinely. And for me, that's my own people. And I'm not going to be ashamed about that. I'm not going to be ashamed at all. And I'm not going to be, you know, pressured to adopt a universalistic attitude where just somehow our problems don't matter any more than their problems. It does matter more. It does matter more to me, just like problems in the family are going to necessarily matter more to me than in the next family. It doesn't mean I necessarily hate the next family, but like I have my own problems and my own life to live, right? Okay, think about that writ large on a national scale. Now, does it make sense? Because it ought to. You know, your ethnic group, your racial group, and your cultural group all are a broader family to you. Like you've got your nuclear family and you've got an extended family.
Okay, I understand what he's saying ideologically, but are they his broader family? In reality, does he have a white collective that he's a part of? Because he sounds pretty isolated and alone. So, like, yes, but like, have you been able to manifest that into any actual white communities? There seems to be a dissonance here psychologically. Because, like, I talk about the fellas. Who does he talk about? Like, what groups, what white collective group? He talks a lot about white collectivism. So this is kind of the issue that I had with Nick Fuentes, where it's like, so who are we coalition building with this collective identity? This seems there's something missing here. And this is why it's hard for me to like jump into any sort of collectivism. Like it needs to be pretty ironed out for me to be considered a part of a group. And so this is just kind of backwards in a way where it's like, okay, well, where's the white group then that's helping you through this?
Well, the nation is like the extended family. We are still, in a sense, you know, all one family. Well, that's what you're supposed to be. You know, nationhood, after all, it's derived from nativity, you know, birth. And if we don't share these things in common, I'm sorry, guy, I just don't care as much about you. It's not like a personal affront. It doesn't mean that I just completely hate you, but I don't have room to care about you. I don't have room. We have so many problems of our own. And maybe if things were better, I'd be a little bit more interested in that telescopic philanthropy that Christians love to engage in so much, but we don't have it that way. And so until such a time as my people have their own land, they get to be super, you know, demographic supermajority, unquestioned. And
well, he says my people have their own land. I don't know if he's ever mentioned return to the land. This is always so unbelievably confusing to me, especially when they also allow pagans in there. You can think Christ is a demon and still join return to the land because it is race focused and it's happening in person. So like, why don't they get shouted out more? If this whole white collective thing is so confusing to me, seems very simple. If you're a white collectivist, you don't talk shit about return to the land fucking ever. And any criticisms you have, like for example, like it might see, instead of shitting on their way of life and how it's not the goy slop that you're used to, like I would say, like, sure, you might view it as like cringe, but like they're building something. A little compliment sandwich. To me, that makes the most sense. And then also, you would be driving people toward their PMA to help it grow. So there's a lot of ideology with white collectivism, but if you were really about it, you should be directing attention to return to the land. That's how my brain makes sense of it, and I'm not seeing it, so there must be something I'm missing.
And not have to, you know, just be one among many groups within a nation squabbling over resources and squabbling over, you know, social standing, power, politics. You know, until we have our own sense of destiny and purpose, don't expect me to give a fuck about what's going on across the seas. I don't care, man. I don't care at all. And I don't feel bad about that. I know people would be like, you're evil. That's bad. You need to repent. Fuck off. Okay, fuck.
Do you see how in his head he's hearing the people that are saying things to him and he has to wash away those voices? I mean, what is that in Christianity? Where you have a voice that's not your own, that you hear in your head, that's a representation or a manifestation of criticisms that you don't identify with and don't want to hear. Did that make sense? Because I've had to rectify that without any help, just with my own brain. Very distressing, very difficult. But he's always hearing the people, the naysayers in his head, and it's like, bro, positive identity. Yeah, we know they exist, but it seems like it's really attacking them in his brain, which is unfortunate.
Fuck off. And you know what? Actually, shame on you for not caring about our own problems. Just because we have material prosperity, or a lot of us do, I mean, things have gotten worse for a lot of people. The prosperity has kind of been shrinking a lot. But just because we have things materially better than some people in Nigeria, so the fuck what? We still have our own problems. We still have our own problems. And I'm not going to be pressured to just care extra because of, you know, materiality. Because, well, we have it materially better here. Ergo, I need to shift my cares and concerns to other people. Fuck that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're looking at the whole.
This is what's strange to me. This is why I made a video on Nick Fuentes and Eric Arval and you guys are probably aware of that, of the Nick Fuentes kind of throwing all the I don't know what to call white collectivists. I don't know what to call them, but Eric Arval, Devin Stack, And I think he also threw Zoomer Historian under the bus. And it's like, why? Where is the collectivism? Where is the collective? Why would you do that publicly? I also don't understand this. I'd be more inclined to join something if it looked like a fucking collective. Now I'm getting mad. Now you got me mad.
Wholesale erasure of my people, the wholesale erasure of my race, little by little, gradually enough where people have the luxury of telescopic philanthropy. They have the luxury of thinking, well, we have it so good. Let's care about literally everyone else but us. Yeah, it's a luxury that has been afforded to us by
Cypher Basement. For $2, thank you. In your estimate, who's the most trustworthy human? Well, that is a great question. And behind the paywall, me and the Hard R fellows had a long conversation about discernment. How do you know who is telling the truth, right? And this is something that has to be developed. I can't just tell you who's the most trustworthy human, okay? I mean, I like to like people, right? I'm fine trusting someone. And I shared this with Andrew Wilson as well. When that Nyla bitch that was like a porn star or OnlyFans model, and then she went to Christianity, they were all trash, and he goes, nope, let's give her a chance. Then he gave her a chance, and then he was like, okay, fuck her. I very much am a cultural Andrew Wilson Christian nationalist, okay? I fucking have never heard a bad take from that fucking guy. I have defended him. I've never said a bad word about him publicly. I love his content. And I always seem to, without realizing it, align with the guy. Ortho Bros. God damn, that's some good juice. But who's the most trustworthy human? It comes down to discernment. And that is a much deeper conversation that one could discover behind the paywall.
all this prosperity and by religious thinking, by universalism. And this is the price of universalism. And it's not one I'm willing to pay. And you might be willing to pay it, but I'm not. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of dump those thoughts. Like I said, sitting in some of these Bible studies, I would just hear things said back and forth. And he has like one fellow in particular, real friendly guy. He's been very nice and welcoming to me, but it is very obvious to me that he is of a very egalitarian, somewhat socialistic bent. And where he feels like we are apparently indebted to take care of the sick and the needy and the widows of just anybody who shows up. Well, I'm sorry, man. Like, our Constitution isn't the Sermon on the Mount, right? And
I know, but do you have a like compelling case, right? Without just giving somebody a bunch of information up front, and I know you're honest and I know you don't care, but like, how are you rhetorically effective? So you know you're going to encounter these people. What is step 2? How do you engage with them, right? That seems to be the roadblock.
Want it to be. The Sermon on the Mount as an idea is supposed to be sort of a constitution of the kingdom of God. Well, that's not just wherever you are. I'm just letting you know, I don't abide by this at this point. And once the smoke cleared, I was just like, yeah, no, this is bullshit. I can't do this. But, you know, just even technically speaking, you go in there and you go into the Bible and it's supposed to be the constitution sort of a people, of a kingdom that, according to the Gospels, was rejected, right? But, you know, I could tell that this fella, he has a very Sermon on the Mount attitude for everyone. And apparently just, I guess, doesn't see a problem at all with importing all of these foreigners. And then I guess we're supposed to be guilty or feel guilty if we don't just warm up to them and cozy up to them and want to take care of their sick and needy and their widows and what the fuck ever else. Sorry, man. I just don't care about these people. I see people washing up with their hands out and all this other shit. They don't care about me. They don't care about my family. They don't care about my nation. They don't care.
Oh boy. Okay. Wow. I did not know the stream was going to go that way. Boy, oh boy. Wow. That was not what I expected. I rhetorically defended the man in the best of my ability, okay? But I think, you know, and this is why I wanted to think out loud, you know? This is my therapy session. I'm trying to figure out how to feel about a certain situation. And then, you know, whatever answers come, no matter how unfortunate they might be when I'm trying to support the man, that's how they come out, you know? I can't deny it. The biggest benefit I have of being an atheist is I have no camp, you know? I try to call it as I sees it, but here's the underlying motivation, fellas. Oh, I hate the left and the moos. I, for the rest of my life, am waging an eternal war on the people that took away everything in my life, my friends, the good times that we had, the relationships that we built, and I nuked them all from fucking orbit. Oh, I nuked them all. I couldn't handle it. I started noticing it early on. You know, I used to make racial jokes all the time to my friends, you know, didn't consider ourselves liberal or anything, just do whatever, apolitical, right? All of a sudden, fucking 2015, 2016 rolls around and I'm making a racial joke. Now it's a fucking issue. Like, well, where the fuck did this come from? Well, you know, you've known me for years and I'm making a joke about the one black guy that we always made fun of for being black. I wasn't doing anything different. All of a sudden, it's an issue. Mind you, I had been talking about race for years. And all of a sudden, these white people act like they fucking cared about race or knew anything about it. Oh, it boiled my blood, fellas. Oh, it boiled my blood. Then you know what happened. Well, COVID happened. Depression, anxiety, through the roof. But I was like, that's what was wrong. It really is a psyop. This really is a very manufactured crisis. For years, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I knew I hate leftists. I knew that. And an anti-communist just means you're not J-critical. So, like, what else? Where do you think the fucking communism came from? Where do you think it came from? But that's what's funny. A right-winger doesn't say they're anti-communist, obviously. You have to say you're anti-communist because you can't criticize where it came from. That's the frustrating part. So, like, I understand the frustration, definitely. Making content, not for everybody, especially ascending to the heavens in terms of your account. But what I spent a lot of time doing, fellas, I watched Destiny, get ready. I watched Destiny for 8 years before I made content on my account, okay? I don't know if you heard me. What I did was watch Destiny for 8 years. Now, did that make me further left? Absolutely not. You want to know why I watched him? Because I liked watching him ruin communists. That's why. His BLM takes and whatnot, didn't care for it. Didn't care for it at all. But, like, I don't know, man. Honestly, atheists don't have any business being in relationships. I almost just fucking want them to be fucking promiscuous, dude. I've tried being in relationships, being an atheist, and it just means the woman has all the fucking power. Because what do you defer to? Oh, I've tried the 50-50 relationships. Turns out they should have listened to me. The way I would explain it is 80-20. Let me just be in control 80% of the time, and then 20% of the time you're in control. That didn't go over well. Now I'll have you know, there's been many men, I don't know if you know this, that are bigger and stronger than women, and they could beat the shit out of them easily. Don't know if you know that. Somehow, these men will bend the knee to women and go, yeah, but I don't want to argue with her. What, so you're losing your fucking life because you don't want to argue with her? Me? Fellas, 5-hour fights. 5-hour arguments, okay? Some of them I'd fucking start. Because she'd make a rule for the relationship. And then I could have just let it go, and I would go, I couldn't help but notice you made this rule for the relationship, but you're only expecting me to follow it. 5-hour fight. I'd turn this off and fucking have that fight right fucking now, okay? I got that dog in me. Now, here's the crazy thing. Somehow, arguing with women that I've lived with has made me a shark for discernment. To know, but try to believe this, okay? There's an unbelievable amount of crossover with women and men on the left and male moves. Can you believe it? It was like Karate Kid. Here I am doing wax on and wax off, and I don't know why. Then I start commenting on the psychology of males on the left and male moves, and all of a sudden, I'm doing fucking crane kicks, motherfucker. I didn't know I was training the entire time. So, like, I developed this discernment, and I always welcomed it. But here's the tough part. Remember blood sports? Remember when debates were fun, 5-10 years ago? The debate space nowadays, fellas. Oh, you really can't engage with what is there left? Are you really going to watch a fucking debate with somebody on the left about the fucking Somali fraud? What's the fucking debate? It's beyond parody at this point. They've revealed themselves too much. Which is tragic, because I feel like a lot of us enjoy debate. This is why I really enjoy Connor Tomlinson. Oh, that man's a sweetheart. Love that guy. I really like, same thing with Ben Boyce. I really appreciate content creators that are the exact opposite of me. That are the exact fucking opposite of me. Me 7 years ago could probably like have a whatever civil discussion or conversation with somebody. I'm a fucking dog off the leash now, dude. Okay. I don't know if I have the patience and tolerance that I used to have. I don't know. But are we thirsty for like engaging debates nowadays? I feel like they have to happen on the right wing. But like when we think debate right now, we think dunking on a person, right? And there's room for that, but we have to create a debate space with friends on the right wing. We cannot debate our enemies at this point. Do they want to fucking debate us, dude? And what does it do? I mean, I'm not talking any shit about Rob Knorr or Andrew Wilson. They're doing literally God's work. Okay? I'm not discouraging that at all in any capacity. But I'm talking about a market, right? I'm a capitalist at the end of the day. What do people want to watch? What do they want to see? Just quality debates again. And I've talked about this, about revamping the debate space. But we have to fundamentally change what we think a debate is, okay? We have to actually want to be swayed by an opinion. And I understand that with the bullshit that you've gone through, you are steadfast in your opinion and you have a backbone, right? Now that is good for self-preservation, right? It is really difficult for cohesion, right? So be hard against your enemies, be soft with your friends, right? Now, chew their ass out, make fun of them 100%, but don't get so caught up where you're actually mad or actually like emotionally like affected, right? So I have that swirling around in my brain as my channel continues to grow. I've thrown around the idea of of having debates about funny things first, right? What I keep going back to is a debate about boob men versus butt men, right? Now I position myself as an atheist, liberal, civic nationalist, so I love taking the underdog positions, which would be the boob position. If you've ever talked to a man, the boob position is the underdog position, okay? Now, it would be funny. Now, sometimes it's boring for them to do like a fucking... Is anybody else bored by the 7-minute fucking introduction in a debate? Like 7 minutes of somebody talking about their fucking position first? I'm a Sperg, okay? I remember what broke me out of my like anxiety-riddled fucking depression a couple of years ago. I was like, it's two things. I had to accept that I was retarded, and I had to start feeling instead of thinking, okay? Those are two promises that I made to myself. I am done with overthinking shit, okay? And so when it comes to like the debate space, like imagine how much funnier it would be if you were forced to do 7 minutes on boobs, and then somebody was forced to do 7 minutes on butts. Now, I don't know how it's going to go, okay? This might be a terrible starting point. I've kicked around this idea to other people. It's very much in its infantile stages. But it has to be done. Fun debates, though. It's okay to lose because it's over something innocuous, right? Let's debate now. I'm game. If only. If we see, I don't know if I want to try this out in public because I don't know how it's going to go. And I like to set myself up to win. Now, here's the thing. Here's why it's a good idea to do behind the paywall. We are amongst friends. The hard-on motherfuckers understand me, okay? They've made fun of me and whatnot. I've had them on, hop on stream and actually talk. They get it, right? This idea can't just be done with strangers. It's got to be done with fellas, okay? So nobody fucking... I don't want somebody to... I don't know. It would be funny if somebody got genuinely mad with a fucking boob and butt argument. I bet I could make someone mad. I bet I could, you see? I don't know how it's going to go. But here I am rambling right now. Really? Really? I shouldn't. I really shouldn't. That's not fair. I've been on here for 2.5 hours. That is not fair. So you would take butts? Is that what you're saying? Are there any other boob men in here? I don't know. Ass man for ass man for life. Let me fucking do here. This is how much I already know that this is true. Boomer on the move. We're gonna do a fucking poll. There's no way. There's no way boobs are gonna win. Now you could troll me. But no boob man or butt man could possibly lie. You couldn't. We got a poll in chat. Which one? Oh, it's firing off right now. Third position. There's that third rail. If you're going to make him choose, he's choosing titties, right? Here's the thing. My arguments for tits. I'm a tit connoisseur, okay? This is the one time where this actually matters. I have an 11-year-old's knowledge of tits, okay? Because those are your best tit viewing days. You got the spirit in you, okay? Something's happening to your body. You're like, whoa, I'm seeing tits fucking everywhere, dude. My roommate had sex with a girl, and I went, I bet you I can guess her titty size just from a picture of her. He had fucked her. 34B. He thought this dumb motherfucker thought it was a 36C. He asked her 34B. Okay, I'm telling you. Back in my OkCupid days, hanging out with a bitch. She looked like the catcher from Sandlot, fellas. Okay. She was like, "Oh, this is a date." I'm like, "No, we're hanging out." She goes, "Oh, okay, we're hanging out." I'm like, bitch, my dick ain't that easy to get. Okay. Felt her tit 36C. Guessed it correctly. Okay. So I want you to know who you're dealing with. If you would take this challenge. If you're a fucking foot guy, don't let me know that. Hide that. Never, ever, ever, ever admit to being a foot guy, okay? Those are the devil's toes, okay? I've known some feet guy in my days. Haven't met a fucking good one, dude. If you're into feet, you gotta fucking leave that horse. You're gay. If you're into a woman's feet, suck a dude's dick. It's way quicker, way easier to get. I don't understand the feet shit at all whatsoever. But fellas, I'm rambling. And I'm tired. And I also gotta get to some stuff. So we're gonna wind it down here. Solo streams, like to riff a little bit at the end, you know? Ass man, let's check in. There's no way this is true. There's no way this is true. Be careful. I'm telling you, dude, I'm not fucking kidding. I need you to think about what you're fucking saying right now, okay? Really think long and hard. Really think about what you're saying. Revolutionary for $2, thank you. Foot bros are literally based. I really want you to think about what you're doing to yourself saying that to a fucking guy like me, okay? I'm not responsible for what I might say to you if you want to fucking out yourself, dude. You're still welcome in the fucking community, okay? I'm just not. You can't hold me fucking accountable, all right? For what happens to you. I can't, dude. Testing. We got to do it behind the paywall when I'm fresh. What do we got in the chat right now? Is boobs really winning? See, you guys are fucking with me. See, there's no way. Actually, I would say normie ass, autism boobs. Think of Down syndrome. Is Down syndrome going to be ass or boobs? It's going to be boobs. A lot of retards. Yep. Yeah, okay. So that's a sampling bias is what we call that. Definitely. I mean, I think what Shane Gillis said Have you ever seen a gay Down syndrome person? There definitely is a boob slant with neurodivergent men. Fair enough. But fellas, what is this? What is happening? Let me go, please. No, I don't want to go full shameless Sperg and start talking about my feelings right now. No, please, fellas, save me. Don't do it. Let me go. Testing, $2. There's a mooish agenda to make feet normal. I couldn't agree with that more. See, revolutionary for $2. Feet RW, Artie, you're still my bro, so don't do it, dude. Don't go down. Now I understand when I say to somebody I'm an atheist and they're a Christian and they go, Artie, don't go down that path. That's how I feel about people that like feet. I'm like, dude, find God, okay? Find tits, please. There's a pair of tits that you can look at, okay? But I mean, like, I never understood how like dudes watch porn and it leads to them to like jerking off to weird stuff. I've never understood that. I don't have an addictive personality. I've known people who have had like a problem with porn. And like, I never understood like after you blow a load, how do you not just start thinking of anything else? Like, we did that. That was the activity. A little yawn. Maybe sometimes a nap. Got out of the chamber. Now I can go on my day, you know? Now I'm not creepy, you know? It's like an oil change. It's functional. It's utilitarian in a way. I don't understand how it keeps on going, though. And then like get into like tranny stuff. Like, how? Just watch. I don't know. I guess I've always treated porn like a girlfriend. I'm very loyal to the videos. I don't really cheat a lot on the videos I've watched. Very simple man. Testing for $2. Would you take a foot J from a 10? Okay, you want to go down this hole. Well, a foot job from a 10, I could do that because it's a 10. I'm not looking at the feet, right? So like, yeah, I'll be looking at titties and face, right? So we can still do a pro-boob sentiment. I'm granting that argument. Now, fellas, there isn't a 1 to 10 scale for pussy. No. There is a 0 to 4 scale, okay? 0 is you wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole, okay? 1 is you're in a good mood, you're courteous, you'll let her suck your dick, okay? 0 to 1. 2 is you would fuck her, okay? Well, you're probably thinking, what's 3 and 4? This is the beauty of the scale. 3 is you're fine if you only eat her pussy. And that's all you can do, right? Some bitches you'll fuck, but you gotta be a level of hot to eat her pussy. Now, if you're into feet, you'll eat a guy's asshole, okay? You don't fucking count, right? There's some guys that'll just eat any old pussy. And I mean, that might skew the scale, but for the most part. Now you're thinking, what is 4? What is a 4? This is the beauty of the scale. Because there's no 9.5s. There's a huge jump from a 7 or an 8 to a 10. And 4 is you're okay if all you can do is lick her asshole. That's it. That's all you get to do. 1 credit card swipe with your tongue, lick her asshole, and that's it. 0 to 4 scale. It'll change your life, okay? With how you think about pussy. Is it worth it? How hot is she? Because isn't it annoying, the 9s or 9.5s? And you feel weird dishing out a 10, right? Because no one's a 10. Some of them get an asshole lick, though. And that replaces the 10. Okay, I need to leave now, fellas. Have a good night. Stop keeping me here. You're keeping me prisoner. All right, have a good night, fellas. Appreciate it.